The road and fatal car crashes increased dramatically. In 2020 alone, the 100 deadliest days accounted for 37% of all traffic fatalities in Nebraska. Don't let distractions blind you. Focus on the basics. Watch your speed. Eliminate distractions. Never drive impaired. And always buckle up. Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office and the Nebraska chapter of the National Safety Council.
Ever walk through a door and see all the trucks? Yeah. It's kind of like that at Gretna Auto Outlet. Half-ton trucks, three-quarter-ton trucks, dualies, gas or diesel. Gretna Auto Outlet will be happy to show it to you. They don't call it truck heaven for nothing, you know. Stop in the climate-controlled comfort of the indoor showroom or online with the virtual showroom at GretnaAuto.com. Gretna Auto Outlet, open Sundays too, just north of Nebraska Crossing on Highway 6 in Gretna.
If you're tired of trading one dead-end job for another, trade your job for a career. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers has positions open right now. As an IBEW electrician, you'll get training, higher pay, paid healthcare, and retirement. Build a better life for you and your family. Make it happen. Call 402-810-0789 right now. That's 402-810-0789 or get details at IBEW22.org.
Email us on the Equitable Bank inbox with whatever is on your mind. Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can get me, Gary, at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. cleanairradio.com.
There's a right way and a wrong way to fight off mosquitoes. Karate chopping the air in a public place in front of your kids and their friends, Mom, is the wrong way. Using Stem mosquito repellent is the right way. Stem effectively repels mosquitoes by harnessing active ingredients found in plants like lemongrass and peppermint, making it safe for use as directed around people and pets. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science, and embarrassment-free.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aww. He just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Vamos a tener mucha diversión.
And that means we're going to have so much fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. 1620 The Zone.
And now it is Luis Arise. What do you make of this guy? 383 to lead baseball, 126 hits to lead baseball.
Oh, yeah, hits 411 at home. 2 strikes, he's hitting 340, which is double the league average, basically.
Yep. Swing and a line drive, base hit into right field. Over to pick it up is Garcia, racing around from second to score. JD Martinez, Luis Arise, his second hit. That one delivers a run, and we're tied up 1-1. The 2-2. Swing and a high fly ball, left field. That one back. That one way back there. God! Elias Diaz, a home run. And the National League has taken a 3-2 lead as he blasts that one out to left. 2 down. Here's a 2-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Kimbrell closes it out, and the National League wins it. Elias Diaz with the home run to give the NL the lead, and the National League coming into Seattle and winning the All-Star game for the first time since 2012.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Good morning. Hello, it is Wednesday. You are not Mother Nature going to rain on our parade today because people tell us that this is the slowest sports day of the year.
Yep. All set for a scandal. Something. Oh, wait, we had that already.
The big
There's room for another one.
So there are no competitive games in the big four sports. But I'm here to tell you, all of us have done, you and I in particular, did 4-hour solo shows during COVID.
That's right.
So there is no slow sports day.
No.
So and wait till you hear our lineup. There is no slow sports day. Now, here in a matter of minutes, because all of a sudden it's got pitch black out here in Midtown Omaha.
Yeah, it's
we might be knocked off the air.
Feel like we're Jimmy's show right now at night.
It is. Yeah, it's like it's 9. Well, now that it looks like it's about 11 o'clock at night right now.
Looks like they're burning oil outside.
Super dark. So we're not going to let anybody rain on our parade on this Wednesday as we welcome you into Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone. Jimmy is here as well on this 12th of July. Yeah, the slowest sports day of the year. It's ESPYs Day.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee is going to do the monologue. Man, I wish. One of my favorite. And, the ESPYs I used to watch, and now I could, unless somebody is locally involved. And there's actually a couple of local connections.
Husker volleyball player.
Bring back in some form or another, rest in peace, Norm Macdonald and his monologue.
That's exactly what I
thought.
thought.
One year that he was hosting the ESPYs, that was so classic.
It was the combination of the classic Norm Macdonald, like awkward, dry humor, where if you and if you're in the audience, if you know of him, you're hysterically laughing, and if you don't know him, you're like, what the hell did you just say?
Yeah, don't you guys think he's still and man, his last few years was really, really tough, but I love Norm Macdonald. I still think to this day that people don't talk about him enough. I think he's a comedic genius.
I do too.
Yeah. But the night he hosted the ESPYs, like some of the jokes he made, and he made Ken Griffey Jr. feel uncomfortable.
Yep.
I mean, how do you make the kid feel uncomfortable? So welcome to ESPYs Day with Pat McAfee and his monologue. They don't have a host, so it's,
all these layoffs. Hey, you're in.
Yeah.
I wonder if they did have one, and then the layoffs took place, and they said, was Steve Young involved? No, probably not.
Oh,
no,
too soon.
Well, no, I just you and I both know Steve Young's gonna be just fine.
Soon.
He's gonna be just fine. But like,
Is he though? He once ate a raw fish.
That was one of the names that just kind of came to mind.
What do you also expect him to talk about? What you're going to do with your Bentley and Rolls, Rand Paul, driving through a car wash? I mean, you might as well knock all of them off. But don't fear here. Don't fear, because football season actually starts today.
I'm actually scared.
The Big 12 Media Days start in Arlington. They have 2 days of the Big 12. You got the commissioner that goes first. He's a pretty aggressive guy. He's want to expand. This is the last year for Texas, Oklahoma. So don't let anybody outside of the next probably hour rain on your parade. This is going to be a good day.
Can't even see the trees out there.
It
got dark.
As the famous song said, it's going to be a good day.
Today's a good day.
Yeah. All right.
It is going to be a good day.
Yeah.
We have quite the program for you.
The blimp, and we do, but Gary Sharp's I've never seen. I've been doing this the mornings for about 11 years here. Outside for those 2 years that I got banished to middays, I have never seen it this in the morning this dark outside, and it is starting to rain.
It's weird.
Like, do we need to take cover? Like, I got Rusty Lord.
Yeah,
I got
Rusty
Sean Everson on my TVs here in the studio.
Now that
hello.
Yeah. Was that a powerful?
That lightning strike that they showed if you look at the skyline of Omaha, you can see.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, that's not very far from our station. All right, so you might hear this. Sure, that'll help our signal at 52nd and Leavenworth. All right. So if we have any weather updates or need to cut in or whatever, we are under a severe thunderstorm warning here in Omaha. We will do that. Okay, in sports talk, you're supposed to find the negative. That's what they tell you when you go to Sports Talk 101. They say, hey, be negative.
Yep.
You're supposed to be negative. People like negativity.
Nobody likes upbeat and positive.
Yeah. That's why sports talk's been really good in Nebraska, because there's been a lot of negative things to talk about in Nebraska football for a while. But you know what? I'm not going to do it today. Yeah, you're going to rain on my parade today.
Did Garrett McGuire fire you up?
Not necessarily, but we will get to his appearance on the radio last night.
Yes, sir.
It's not Garrett McGuire that has fired me up.
Okay.
It is ZB 2.0 that has fired me up, and I'm not talking about Zach Brown Band. I'm just going to put it out there. I may get nicked a little bit here, but I liked the All-Star game last night. There, I said it. I know that
the game was good.
I know that you're supposed to say, "Oh no, it was 3-2," and a Colorado Rocky is the MVP. At, by the way, plus 1,000 on FanDuel. Use the promo code ZONE. You like that game? Yes. I liked the All-Star game last night, and I also like where the game of baseball is right now. There, I said it. I'm done. That's my positivity to start the show. You guys can agree or disagree.
I thought the game was great.
I liked the All-Star game last night.
Game fine. Uniforms sucked.
Oh, well, don't worry. The people at IHOP are going to be in trouble today with my rant on those uniforms, or anybody that likes the movie or video game Tron.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
Ooh, we got a Tron reference.
Let's focus on the game.
Okay, the game itself, and this is where I'm a little bit mixed, because of I liked when my squad had Yandy Diaz. I was a fan of what he looked like he could be, and then so when I see in big stage moments, now these with the Rays, and they're a great baseball team and all that. But when he gets the first blast, I'm like, oh, Yandy. It's like when I see Frankie Lindor do something. It's just, you feel proud. You're like a proud parent, but you also sort of are like just a little bit jealous because you want him still back in that uniform. But the game itself, the pitching was good. Like, you saw big moments. It was nice to see Shohei, the Seattle crowd wanting show. Like that was pretty cool. I didn't mind, because I think we're all now kind of used to it, having the players, now multiple players being mic'd up during the event. That's all that was good.
Do you know you get $10,000?
Oh, I would
if
totally
you're mic'd up during a game.
How great would
Fox?
that be?
Oh, in that case.
Yeah, it's like,
see,
and it's up to them to bleep stuff.
Yeah, now you wouldn't do the pitcher and the batter during a regular season game.
No,
but I like that they had, Evaldi and Carroll were both mic'd up. I actually liked all the access that Fox had.
Yeah,
you get $10,000 for being mic'd up during a game.
There's motivation there, yeah. But as far as the game, again, I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to the way baseball is played when you have solid pitching and timely hitting. Because I feel like a lot of baseball enthusiasts, or if you want to just call us old school, that's fine. I think the way the game played out, you get a little late inning heroics. You get a guy that comes off the bench, another Diaz who comes off the bench and gets you the 2-run blast, and all of a sudden you got a new ball game. Kimbrel comes in, close it down. Of course, he did strike out Jose Ramirez. But maybe I'm just used to the broadcast being a little bit more lively. That thing was boring. The broadcast. Now, again, with the guys mic'd up, that brought a little bit, but between Smoltz and no.
I'm vibing with you. Like Joe Davis, I like Joe Davis, and he has a voice that isn't like super exciting. He doesn't have the Joe Buck kind of voice. But I really like listening to Joe Davis, because I like him and Hershiser when they're doing Dodger games. I agree with you, but not exactly on the play-by-play. We're going to talk about the threesome that is forced down my throat.
Yep.
Now, some people might enjoy that.
Wow.
In this case,
yeah,
I don't.
Say.
But like when you get a one-run game, here's also what I'm excited about, is that when the Cubs make the World Series this year, they're going to get a home field advantage.
Oh, okay.
That's not a thing anymore?
No.
Well, then the Cubs shouldn't be playing for the World Series this year.
Wait, which one?
There's no advantage for the Cubs this year to be playing for the World Series.
If that was still a thing,
they're good at
the
game
first time
sevens on the road.
What, 2012 National League wins? historic night last night.
Well, it was, and from the Cub perspective, the last time the National League won, Brian LaHare was one of the Cubs representatives in the All-Star game, along with Starlin Castro.
At least it wasn't Rick
Ooh,
Sutcliffe.
2012 was a little bit of a rough stretch for the Chicago
Could
Cubs.
be worse. The Hawk could have been a representative.
The Astros were a National League team the last time the NL.
Yeah. Think about that one. Think about that one.
Worst record in baseball that year.
But it was
undefeated at games.
It was a close score. It was a good game. I know that the broadcast didn't. There were like elements, like it's an exhibition. So everything you want out of it, like you want moments, you want some unique characters that develop. Maybe you get a little bit of controversy. I mean, we had a stolen base, we had a home run that was overturned. Yep. People wondering, why do we have reviews in an All-Star game? Why do we have a pitch clock in an All-Star game? And it was good. It's not like the greatest, but I'm feeling better about watching that All-Star game than on the other end, where I'm like, oh my gosh, that was just an awful slug of 2.5, 3 hours. Now, granted, I think the TV ratings will probably be really, really poor. The home run derby ratings weren't very good. The ratings for the All-Star game are going to be poor, but I enjoyed it. I think baseball is in a really, really good spot. The only place that it's not in a good spot is the team that plays at Coors Field. Boy, how bad. I mean, the Rockies are like irrelevant.
Oh,
they're like completely irrelevant. They play in a beautiful ballpark in a major city that has all this winning going on, from the Avs to the Nuggets to the All-Star Game MVP. But Colorado Rocky baseball, hello. Last night they at least got a moment, and that guy will probably be gone here in like 2 weeks.
Trade bait. That the Rockies thing, but that's fair, because I now wonder, when you kind of like Kansas City, how they've sort of latched on a little bit to like, all right, what can we do to generate some buzz? Hey, what seems to work? Let's bring in Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce for a night. Like, are they going to have to start really pleading with like the Jokic representatives and say, please?
I thought you were going to say, were they bringing in Russell Wilson? I think that would be a bad move.
No, that would not be good. Yeah, I think hopefully
Rockies
they're smart
country,
enough to
let's
know.
ride.
Yeah, but like, do they have to start tapping into the Nuggets market? The Avs thing, maybe that's a little bit too late for that.
Shirtless Christian Brown throwing.
Yeah, there you go. If he's still hammered. Because I would agree with you, as far as ballparks that especially living here that are accessible, and whenever your team is playing there, you want to go there. You always used to be, okay, I'm going to go to Kansas City, go watch Cleveland play Kansas City because it's a 3-hour drive. But Denver, not tough to get to. It is one of my favorite ballparks.
It's a fun time.
It
the
is.
Whole area.
Yeah, the Lodo district, and I mean everything around it. But yeah, for that ballpark to be, it kind of reminds me of what I think Kansas City sort of envisions on what they want to do with their ballpark. But
they got the bad baseball down right now.
Exactly, and that I'm not being from there, couldn't really say like how they feel about the product on the field, and if they kind of do take that experience at that ballpark for granted, because you go to other ballparks, I mean, it stands out. I would say it's definitely I haven't been to the West Coast ballparks, but I would say it's in my top 5.
You got a few months to hit up Oakland.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't go to there and say, hey, that's in my top 5.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, I don't think I have to worry about that.
But speaking of Oakland, so there were a couple of things. Again, people are clamoring to talk about pajamas, so we'll talk about pajamas in a bit. There were a couple of negative things. One, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, your closer might be in trouble. Jordan Romano tweaked his back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, Dusty Baker pitching guys that are injured. Not a surprise.
All-Star game.
Doesn't get old.
Hey, Dusty Baker got booed. There was like this faux outrage. Oh, my God, you can't boo Dusty Baker. He's wearing an Astro uniform. Granted, he was not there, but he's still an Astro. And that's
Orbit
what you
got
do.
booed.
That's what you do as a home team fan. All right, the Mariners don't like the Astros. It's okay. They can boo Dusty Baker. They have nothing against Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker's just wearing the wrong uniform. So Jordan Romano has to leave the game. And so that's why, you get to the situation where you get Kimbrel, or not Kimbrel, but who came in after Romano? The Orioles bullpen, which they all look like you should be playing defensive end. But Romano tweaked his back, and you have to watch that. And then the only other thing is the great, gosh, it's too bad that politics entered the fray, because the Oakland A's fans that are diehard to the core. And so they went to Seattle. They bought their way into the All-Star game. They distributed little cards that in the 5th inning, they were going to have a stadium-wide chant of "Sell the team."
Mm-hmm.
It never made it onto the broadcast, but the whole stadium, just like the Seattle Mariner fans, every time Ohtani was up, were chanting, "Come to Seattle."
Yeah.
They did it in the 5th inning. Fox did not show it. Fox delayed coming back, and the whole stadium was chanting, "Sell the team, sell the team." Good on the Oakland A's diehards that did that, because they made 47,000 little cards that they stood and passed out so that people knew that in the 5th inning they would have this demonstration.
And think about that. If you're even a Seattle resident, you're just someone that's going to the All-Star game and you get that card, there's got to be part of you. It's like, yeah, I'm with you. I mean,
I don't know why you'd be like, oh no.
No, I'm not. I don't want to be any part of this.
Frontier Airlines, Seattle to Vegas is cheaper than Seattle to San Francisco.
They have tried to pull off and to some extent have actually been successful in, like, between the reverse boycott and now this. Like, I give it to them. They're not just like taking this one line down.
And they're going to have one more year because the A's will play one more year in Oakland.
Oh, there you go, Nick. Summer vacation next year.
I still got time to go to that big old oversized urinal cake. I look forward to it.
Get yourself a possum.
Yep.
And go see Mount Davis,
Yeah.
which ruined that stadium.
Yep.
When they allowed Al Davis to build that monstrosity for football out in the outfield that took away the view of the mountains, that stadium was doomed.
So you've been there.
Yep.
I'm assuming have been to the Metrodome more than once.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm one of the rare people that like the Metrodome.
Oh, okay. Well,
the Metrodome for football was really good.
Oh, I'm talking about baseball though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there plenty of times for baseball.
Okay, so
hefty bag.
I don't know. This is my only. Well, one time I watched a buddy play college baseball tournament there too. But the only Major League Baseball game I ever went to at the Metrodome, and it wasn't well attended. It was like a weekday. It was probably like right as the second half of the season got underway. So it was like right around this time, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It reeked of a bathroom urinal cake.
Really?
Like the majority of
Like
the
the
area
dome?
like the majority of the area that we were sitting in, and I don't know if they had something going on with the bathrooms or whatever. And so that was always like my last impression of, oh, I guess you go to the Metrodome, it just smells like a big old urinal cake.
Kind of adds to that whole Iowa fan story about 15
Really?
years ago.
Okay. So I used to think that the Metrodome, which, had an air issue, it was always fun when you left the Metrodome, you had to go through the doors and then out.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because it was the way the dome was supported. Was with the
how
air.
it was inflated.
I always thought the dome smelled like, so the Metrodome hot dog was a Hormel hot dog. And it had a distinctive smell to it. Not a bad smell, but I always thought that's what the Metrodome smelled like, was the Hormel hot dog.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it was the dome dog, which was iconic.
I think you're always used
like
to
his better.
the food smells, but yeah, there was a pretty noticeable odor of urinal cake. And we went from like our seats, and I think we were just kind of walking around before the game because, I wanted to see what they had to offer.
Are you sure it didn't smell like a dead gopher after the 83 and 89 season that Nebraska went to the Dome and destroyed Minnesota?
Well, it didn't smell like roadkill. No, it was urinal cake. So I'm assuming the Coliseum probably has if it's not that odor, has probably some pretty pronounced offensive odors. If you go into that ballpark, maybe sewage.
I think if you're probably close to the dugout,
down to the ground level, it probably has a little bit more sewage smell to it. Yeah. So I don't feel like I'm going to miss out on that one.
First of all, this is a great morning for insurance agents in this town because it is hailing. So
this segment's brought to you by the rooferees and John Higgins Weather Guard.
We'll get to that. Good job, Jimmy. You're going to be getting calls because it is hailing throughout Omaha. It's you know what? Let's have some speaks, Mother Nature. Hail at 6:30 in the morning is way too early.
Yeah.
We have to have an agreement here that if you're going to hail, first of all, I'd like some hail when it's light outside. But we don't need hail like on the morning drive.
No.
I'm just asking for a friend. But the lineup brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Brian Windhorst going to stop by at 8 a.m. Wendy from ESPN. There's a lot of stuff in there. I don't know. Are we going to talk basketball, or are we just going to talk about a lot of things he's done of late? Because he is everywhere, and he is kicking ass and taking names.
It's like we could do all of that, but one of these days we're going to have the hour in studio visit with Wendy where he just tells stories, and they are fantastic.
And we talk college football, diehard Ohio State fan.
Yeah.
So Wendy will join us coming up at 8. Phil Steele stops by at 9. His magazine has been out for a little bit, so Phil will make his yearly appearance right here on 1620 The Zone. And then Brandon Vogel is in with things to discuss a couple of weeks away from Big Ten Media Day. Again, today in Arlington is Big 12 Media Day. Can you imagine a scenario which they open their media days, and I like media days at the site of where you play your championship game. That's why I like that the Big Ten moved to Lucas Oil. Got out of a hotel ballroom in Chicago, and they said, yeah, maybe that luncheon, which was priority over the actual event of 14 teams, is a thing. The next time that they go back to Arlington, how would people in the Big 12 handle it if it was Texas, Oklahoma playing for the Big 12 championship in their last year in the league?
I don't think they'd like that.
I was at the OU Nebraska game in 10, so
I think we would all agree one of those two has a pretty good shot at playing in that final game of the conference. And that'd be Texas. So, yeah, I don't think they'd like that at all. I feel like if you're leaving us,
doesn't seem like
we don't really want to prop you up.
It doesn't also seem that Texas, Oklahoma is getting a little bit of a nicer going away present than Nebraska
so far. Yeah. That's why I want to see how this season plays out. Like when it does come to officiating and, you know, some of the behind the scenes stuff, like does there seem like there's any type of slant against them but yeah, so far I think they are. There hasn't been a lot of animosity. You haven't heard a lot of the old guard, like the old Big 8, Big 12 guys that still remain, like, you know, speaking out of, we're never going to have future schedules with these guys. I mean, yeah, it seems like at least as of now that things have been cordial.
Maybe the departure is nicer because the 4 that came in and they're still there.
Like that's kind of awkward.
Like if TCU had joined the Big 12 in Nebraska's last year, would that have affected the angst towards Nebraska? It just seems like people, and maybe this is because Gundy and Mike Gundy says whatever is on his mind, has kind of cracked on his, you know, in-state rival. But other than that, it hasn't been a lot of like just sticking Oklahoma and Texas in the back. Maybe because Texas and Oklahoma are getting the Big 12 paid right now.
Yep.
And the Big 12's probably in a better spot than they were when Nebraska, Mizzou, Colorado, they all exited.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about that. For the Big 12 that has been on life support at least two
Texas
separate
A&M
times, that you needed at least in the interim when you had the first wave of teams that left, you needed something to kind of keep the conference afloat, especially when it came to the college football product, and give Oklahoma, especially Oklahoma during that time, because they were in the college football playoff era, they found themselves in the college football playoff more than once. So you did have that part of it. Texas is always going to generate a lot of eyeballs, and it's going to mean a lot of dollars. So if you did, I don't know if the Big 12 would survive, say, if Texas and Oklahoma had also bolted earlier. So I don't know how much that comes across the mind of all the decision makers or all the power brokers in the Big 12. But I think if you do look at it from that standpoint and you're very even keeled and looking at that, you take the emotion out of it, which I'd hope you do. Yeah, you have to give respect to Oklahoma and Texas for at least that allowed you to pivot away from them and be able to attract 4 other schools. Definitely they have their part in that.
Be awkward. First Saturday in December, you have to award the trophy to either Oklahoma or Texas, because we all thought that in 2010, man, wouldn't that be something if Nebraska wins this game and they have to give Bo the championship trophy, the smile on his face.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
look good for half.
Hey, there'd be Nebraska fans still in Jerry's World doing a victory lap.
Yep.
They'd be like, we're not leaving.
Yep.
This is one of the greatest moments in the history of Nebraska football. All right, 33 past the hour. You got the lineup. Again, the weather, we're under severe thunderstorm warning here in the Omaha and metro area. It is dark outside. It is pouring. There is hail. People are upset. People are driving swiftly on Dodge. Doesn't matter. Like, I don't care.
Good for them.
Looks like 80 and sunny.
There's people hydroplaning.
I mean, that part I don't recommend.
The Orbit buses have pulled off to the side.
So they could drop their one passenger off.
All right, there's Nick, Jimmy. I'm Gary. You can always join the conversation. You can be our on-the-ground weather person if you would like.
Got some good pictures.
It is brought to you by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house, 951-1620. The Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally, and they'll answer on the first ring. Maybe right now if you call it 634. Maybe if you call Doug's cell phone. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
And Handley at 1620thezone.com.
And the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Still on Twitter. Don't have a thread going. At Gary Sharp 1620.
At Nick Handley 1620.
All right, the whole gang is here. We'll get an update in the next hour from Jimmy. But last night, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, first time since 2012 that the National League has beaten the American League. And they did it with some dramatics. Just like the World Baseball Classic, the All-Star Game ended on a swinging strike. Baseball is very, very good right now. 35 past the hour on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Now live on Twitch, YouTube, and 1620thezone.com.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
At Omaha Transmission, we don't have a warehouse full of transmissions waiting to be sold. We will diagnose and then repair or remanufacture your transmission. It's how we've always done it and how we'll always do it. Treating people the way that we want to be treated is how we do business at Omaha Transmission.
Omaha Transmission, shifting to running smooth. WORK, Work News Radio.
Next up, incidents of pressing all the elevator buttons unexpectedly spike on Bring Your Kid to Work Day. But first, the latest on a team lunch that wasn't ordered through EasyCater.
I'm in the break room where lunch that was previously announced on the way has now been downgraded to hopefully soon.
Fingers crossed, Michelle. Fingers crossed.
Newsflash, it's hard when the food is late, but at EasyCater, we make hard easy. With food for work delivered on time and is ordered from over 100,000 restaurants. Order 24/7 at easycater.com.
Research shows people ignore radio ads. While I want you to remember that Liberty Mutual customizes and saves you hundreds on home insurance, I know no one's listening, so I can say anything. I can even tell Jenny that I never stop thinking about us. Sometimes I almost call, but I only truly feel safe revealing this in the privacy of my nationally broadcast radio ad.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Savings may vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe.
Eesh.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day.
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
You get more with Murphy Tractor. We'll help you choose the right John Deere construction piece of equipment, performance tier, attachments, tech package, and financing options to fine-tune your fleet. Each of our 29 locations has a diverse lineup of new, used, and rental equipment, along with a wide variety of parts inventory and experienced service technicians. Give us a call at 855-246-9124 or visit us online at murphytractor.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
I think I'm back in the icebox at a Lincoln Stars.
Yeah. You know,
I don't know if there's a hail
in
song.
hockey now. Their entrance song is now Omaha's been doing that. The Mavs have
Really?
now been doing it. I think they started it
So
either
they
last year or this year. Yeah, that's
So did they ask permission from Derek Reynolds,
I don't know.
Nick Four,
Yeah,
Ryan
those-
Benkirk,
those
former
decisions
Lincoln
are
Stars? That's what they came out with the Ice Bowl.
those decisions are made above me. Although I've noticed they've kind of rotated entrance songs, so they haven't had
Okay.
really a staple. They did go back to
They
Enter
do.
Sandman for the starting lineup, which is kind of
They
nice.
do have a cool open. How did the angry Omaha hockey Twitter mob feel about that? They're always angry. They always
I think
complain
they
about-
actually didn't mind
Ooh,
Thunderstruck.
Okay, because
Yeah.
they always complain about stuff. Why are they so angry?
This is true.
They're always complaining.
Yeah.
It's like there's just a handful of diehard Omaha Twitter people for hockey, and they complain about everything.
I told you
If they like that, then that's a good sign.
Yeah. Well, I think they're fans of classic rock, which would
Okay.
fall into that category.
All right.
Now, I told you this a while back that they were not fans of not saying UNO Mavericks and just saying
that
Omaha
is
Mavericks.
that's a hot button issue. I get it. I'm with angry Omaha hockey Twitter people on that one.
Because that's where it all started. They were UNO. They get the UNO chant going, but if you can't say it when they come out on the ice, is that big of a deal? And I said, you know what? That's not my call.
Yeah.
I do what I am told to do, and I go from there.
Pack your sunscreen. You might get to go to Tempe.
Oh,
more than once.
yes.
Found out something yesterday. Found out a lot of things yesterday. Did you guys know that I was listening to a podcast and I immediately thought of Larry Eustace, but that's beside the point. Did you know that Bob Huggins had a mini bar in his office?
Yeah. It had a thing where you had one of those buttons that it turns around.
Shut up.
Yeah.
It actually turns around?
Yeah.
Like it's like a custom-made job?
He has like a condo downtown, and then he has his house in Morgantown. So sometimes he crash at the downtown condo, and it has a button that you press, and the bar spins around.
Oh, but it's in his condo. It's not in his office.
But he has one in his office too.
Okay, I thought he had like the custom button spin around like something from Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah,
type
no,
thing
that's one of those
in,
things.
in the office. You'd be like, "All right, coaches, we had a long day." Boop, hit the button and just.
I can't remember
You
who
got all
told me
your-
that when I was there, but yeah, I believe it.
Would he be a top shelf liquor guy, or would he be more of a everyday man's drink and
I
beer?
think he'd have both. He'd be versatile.
I don't know. I think if it's wet, it's. Speaking of Larry Eustace, whatever happened to the Winnebago?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to know if he.
He was very complimentary of
What about the mock turtleneck?
girls in Lawrence.
Whatever happened to Larry Eustace?
Yeah.
Who, dealing with some demons outside of that, was
Yes.
a pretty good basketball coach who may have had a temper or two.
Yeah.
There are legendary stories of him in practice and either kicking people out or just, shall we say, interesting ways to say one particular word.
Oh.
You could say it in the French version. You could say it in the German version,
yeah.
the English version, the Spanish version.
Did he use all of them?
Yeah.
He definitely
He's
used
well-versed.
all of them.
Heard the story of what got him kicked out of the Elite Eight game in 2000 and what he said to the ref.
Okay, was this true that he also would mingle with Nebraska fans too when they were in Lincoln? Because
I'd hope so. He liked Columbia.
After the pictures of him at the party, I remember hearing people say, "Oh yeah, he used to do the same thing when they would come to Devaney." I'm like, really? No one's taking photos? But I don't know if he like really cut loose and was drinking. Was it Natty?
It was Natty Light.
Yeah, Natty Light. I don't know if he was doing that.
That wasn't top shelf.
And I remember when I first saw that, I thought it was not realizing the full gravity of a guy who clearly has a problem. Thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, it was kind of sad. But when you're putting you think of like the discretion, the fact that he was still wearing like the game mock turtleneck.
Oh yeah, he could rock a turtleneck.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you should not have stayed behind in Columbia and then gone to a party
right
where you were there until 5:30 in the morning as the head basketball coach at Iowa State, who had just gotten done. You lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you're just gonna party with the townsfolk.
And then in the middle of the room at the party, you're criticizing Iowa State basketball for the loss that you just encountered. All right, on your bingo card yesterday, I'm gonna go out and on a limb here. We're a big egg state. That's what we pride ourselves on. You saw how they introduced the new Herbie Husker.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't bring him out like in a vehicle from Woodhouse.
No, he's in a corn bed.
Phew. But that's the pride of this state.
Corn crib, I'm sorry.
And we've got a lot of football players that come from egg backgrounds. They grew up on a farm. They're from farming communities in Nebraska, and they make their way into Lincoln and play football. And you would think in this state with NIL that there would be more involvement from egg products. Maybe to a lesser extent there have been, but not like as publicized. I am guessing that nobody had on their bingo card the person that would get the largest quote unquote egg related NIL deal would be Jeff Sims, who is not from Nebraska. He does not have an egg background. I don't even think he's an egg major, but he got a deal yesterday with a Kansas, Nebraska-based company that is into John Deere.
He looks good next to that combine.
Hey, it's fantastic. The possibilities are endless of what they could do for Jeff Sims, bouncing around campus. He could pull up to the stadium in a Z-Track.
Did you see the John Deere carts at the John Deere Classic?
Yeah.
Tell me he couldn't have one of those going around campus?
Hey, give him a 40-20. D105? Or you guys are not.
Now you're just dropping equipment knowledge.
I just know the big deal between red and green.
Hey, I'm from Iowa. You guys are city guys. Okay. maybe go on the other side of 680 and introduce yourself to the state of Nebraska.
Hey, I spent 7 years in rural Columbus, Nebraska.
Have you guys not seen any national broadcast from Omaha? The farm fields are like at 72nd and Dodge.
That's true.
You don't have to go very far to see them.
That's true. Well, it doesn't help when everything on the game broadcast is brought to you by some type of farm machinery. So,
well, yeah, I've said Case IH Red Zone.
Yeah, the Case IH Red Zone, and this is Acres, and I know they are also part of that.
But so will he? So are they in the football broadcast?
I think yes. I think they're the broadcast booth. I think that's the broadcast booth.
So will Jeff Sims on the radio broadcast welcome people back to the booth?
Oh, he should. Ooh. He should welcome back to the Acres broadcast. He should.
Like he has to now be driving some type of vehicle.
I would hope so.
And doing like commercials.
Yep.
They're coming.
It's a smart play by that company. Now, I think we should just pay guys, period. I mean, because Jeff Sims is endorsing something or is affiliated with it, are you going to go out and buy, all of a sudden you're going to go buy a combine?
Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to be posing with more of the equipment than actually talking about him.
Just pay the kid money. Okay, that's what we should
do.
I
think that's what they're
doing. NIL is going in-house anytime, and soon enough. Just give the kid a bunch of money for being a quarterback at Nebraska. But it is...
And then pose for the occasional picture in front of a combine.
Kudos to the company. Was it
Acres?
Yeah. AKRS?
Yep.
Yeah.
That aligned with him. It's a smart play. I thought it would get a little bit more run yesterday, but it may also go back to my theory of Jeff Sims is like one of the least talked about quarterbacks.
No, I thought of you when I saw this last time. I'm like, hey, remember he'd been missing. Like we found him next to a combine.
Like even Phil Steele's going to join us coming up at 9:00, and some of the other preseason publications are out. And here's a guy that more likely will be in Indianapolis in 2 weeks representing Nebraska at media days. He's going to be the starting quarterback. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. But like people nationally don't even talk about Jeff Sims, not even in a passing. And Nebraska got a portal guy as well. Yep. It's either Mordecai at Wisconsin, it's McNamara at Iowa, and then, oh, by the way, there's, I can't believe it, a returning quarterback at Minnesota. People don't talk about Jeff Sims. Whether you didn't like what he did at Georgia Tech and you're very curious or hesitant to say, man, he's going to be the answer and he'll be better than Casey Thompson. I get that. That's part of the discussion. But nobody talks about Jeff Sims.
No.
It's wild. On the national level. And even like a passing. Oh, by the way, others mention Jeff Sims at Nebraska.
Yeah, well, how much of that is because you bring up Casey Thompson a year ago? He was a big part of every preseason breakdown of Nebraska, but also he was part of kind of the Big Ten's new class when it came to transfer portals. Nebraska had two of them. They had O'Shawn Mathis and Casey Thompson when it came to guys that were out of the transfer portal that are considered to be amongst the top 20, top 25 available during the transfer portal era, that during that period. And so there was maybe a little bit more known about Casey Thompson, a little bit older. Starting at Texas obviously helps because there's just more people watching that football product than there probably are Georgia Tech. But I also wonder how much of this sort of under the radar conversation or narrative around Jeff Sims also has to do with the uncertainty of, well, what will the Marcus Satterfield, Matt Rule, Jeff Sims relationship and what will that ultimately look like, especially with maybe less to go off of from when we saw him at Georgia Tech compared to Casey Thompson. I think all of that sort of factors in. And then I think you also bring up another one with Tanner Mordecai. Well, we know a little bit more about him, and he's going to be in that Luke Fickell squad, and he's going to be in sort of an air raid offense attack. Okay, so this is going to be something that we have to watch. I think people are aware of Jeff Sims, but I think that's about it. As far as the national narrative, I think they're aware of it, and I think they're more curious than anything, but there's nothing that really moves the needle like, hey, look out for this guy. This guy's going to be a stud. Like they don't want to push that conversation yet.
With what he does, and we're going to get into who he's going to throw to, because I have to admit, not only was I excited about the baseball last night, but I had the Garrett McGuire appearance on the Sports Network.
Yes, sir.
Last night. I might have got 3/4 hussed.
Just 3/4?
Just 3/4. I'm not fully. I'm saving. At my age, you can't be hussed all the time.
That's true.
Okay,
Unless you're taking prescription.
Yeah, and longer than 4 hours, but I can't be like 50 days. I think that would be very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
we'll get to who he's throwing to. But on a different level in the NFL, I saw a great stat. Warren Sharp is fantastic. If you really want to dive into the analytics and get all geeky, Warren Sharp's NFL preview that just dropped the other day is a great, great read. And he's a great follow on Twitter. He had a fantastic stat yesterday about mobile quarterbacks. And Jeff Sims is a lot more mobile than Casey Thompson. Now, I'm not comparing Jeff Sims to in the NFL, but you're going to see what I'm getting at with the day and age of quarterbacks in the NFL. Unless you have just a brilliant and accurate passer, football, you must have a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
Last year, 16% of the rushing yards in the NFL were accumulated by quarterbacks. That is the most ever in the NFL. 16% of the total rushing yards, the most ever. 10 years ago, the number of rushing touchdowns by a quarterback was 11% of the rushing touchdowns that were scored in the NFL. This past year, it was 21%. So if you wonder where the game of football is going at quarterback, you better have some mobility. Unless, again, you are like a Burrow. I wouldn't. Mahomes has some mobility.
Yeah.
Even with his little pitty-patty feet.
True.
Burrow
It's like a
doesn't
snake.
Burrow
Slithers.
doesn't pull it down. But Burrow is on the top end of you are brilliant in the pocket and you're extremely accurate.
Absolutely.
So the whole game of football is going towards the ability because of the challenges that keep you up at night if you're a defensive coordinator, if you have a mobile quarterback. I point that out because I'm trying to help the cause of Jeff Sims. Maybe we'll get together in Indianapolis and I'll say, hey, you need a PR person, and I might be the guy for you. Just it's crazy. Maybe the most attention he's gotten is being shot in front of having his picture taken in front of a tractor
with a big smile. Like he looked legitimately happy. So I'm assuming that he's all on board and that NIL check is.
What happened to his clothing line?
Yeah, I thought he had like a hoodie that people.
He showed up after the spring game for one of the rare times that he talked to the media in the spring, and he had a really, really cool hoodie on.
I think still,
and it was his clothing line. I thought maybe he'd promote that a little bit more.
Oh, maybe that's in season. Start getting your in season gear. Maybe that ramps back up in August. But right now, it's about the summer.
I mean, they desperately want him to be here for 2 years. Now, if he's only here for one and he's getting paid,
that's a good thing.
That is fantastic. But they want him here for 2 years.
Isn't it interesting too with going back to the mobile quarterback and what we've now seen from the draft from the last 5 years, the quarterbacks that are successful, the narrative of if you were a mobile quarterback even 15 years ago probably meant that was the only thing that you could bring to the table. The passing, the accuracy was probably not your strong suit. And now you look at I would agree with you. It's essential to have at least that gear. And I always bring this up because he's a guy that when he needs to use his athleticism or his feet, he can. But Aaron Rodgers, you kind of saw that with him. They're not going to design a lot of runs for him. They're not going to design, like he's not doing zone read. But he's a guy that when things would break down, he would show off his athleticism. He can extend plays. Because I think when people think about mobile quarterbacks, they're like, okay, he's a major running threat. And that's true for some. I mean, Lamar Jackson going to absolutely kill you at moments if you kind of forget about him and he's going to take off. He can take one to the house. But there's also the mobile quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes that are mobile, athletic, that they use that just to buy themselves enough time, because if they're able to extend a play with their receiving core and their arm strength, that you're probably going to get torched for a big play if they have that ability to evade that type of pressure. So the more well-rounded quarterback that does have that ability, that's the new breed in the game right now. And you see that in the college game, but especially now the pro game, where you can see guys that have speed, but no longer are we saying, yeah, but they don't they're not the best passer. They're not the most accurate guy. Sure, they can bust off a long run, but they can't really chuck the ball. Not true anymore for the majority of them.
All right, 55 past the hour. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Brian Windhorst will stop by. Is he in Omaha or is he?
I was telling Jimmy this. I think he's in Omaha because every now and then you'll get that little backdrop that looks like a pickup ball court.
Yeah, that's
So
on the list. I got to ask him about that because it looks like he's at,
he's at like a Ralston Elementary School.
He's like at Holy Angels School, and he's in the lunchroom,
right,
where they have that looks like a Catholic school basketball court.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
I feel like that's one of the many backdrops, the CGI backdrops that he probably has.
So Wendy will join us coming up at 8. Phil Steele stops by at 9, so you have time to dodge the raindrops and get your Phil Steele magazine. As we're going to go through, hold on here. 352 pages. We're going to go page by page when Phil joins us at 9. Maybe,
I'm here for it.
Maybe if we have time, we'll sneak in Brandon Vogel at 9:40.
Okay, we might be cutting it close
on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backland Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown westbound along I-80 near 84th Street. Then eastbound along I-80, be prepared for things to start slowing down near 126th. And on Dodge, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 80th to 72nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like jewelry, gold chains, bracelets, earrings, wedding rings, and high-end watches, guns, electronics, $10 to $50,000, super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Sorry, I'm late. I got here as fast as I could. What'd I miss?
What did you miss? You missed the stop sign at the corner.
You barely missed your little sister on her bike.
You see Mrs. Turner walking her dog? Luckily, he's on a leash, or you wouldn't have missed him.
Don't miss the point of this message. Drive the speed limit and pay attention, or you might end up missing all of your friends, family, and freedom. Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
Is your car making a howling, growling, or crunching noise? It could be related to the drivetrain, which consists of your transmission, your transfer case, and differentials. Omaha Transmission is specialized in diagnosing and repairing all those components. Don't diagnose it yourself. Take out the guesswork and have us tell you for sure.
Omaha Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
We've all had this happen. Somebody says something about a thing, and then a couple of days later, you see an ad for that thing pop up on your news feed. Weird, right? Well, in an honest attempt at not being weird, Langfeld Overhead Doors would like you to remember them when you or your friends need a new garage door. You can trust the professionals at Langfeld Overhead Door to repair or replace your garage door. You can also trust them not to listen in on your conversations, because that's weird. Langfeld Overhead Door, 402-234-2700.
The Dell Technologies Black Friday and July event starts now with limited quantity deals on top business PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Plus, get special financing with Dell Business Credit. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to business customers by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620, The Zone.
At 7:01?
Oh, yeah. We had hail. Everything is fair game.
Do we need to round check our vehicles?
Why does it look darker here than like 90th and Dodge on TV looks
Yeah.
light?
It looks like November. Here, it looks like
Well,
Twister.
every picture that I'm seeing right now on the Twitterverse of that ominous looking cloud rolling in, like it looks like beautiful and bright out as that thing's coming in. It's been dark since we've been here.
Got to
like
see
super
power
dark.
flashes on live TV, and we're still on the air.
Yeah.
So we made it. It'll be a great day.
Yep. Take that, Mother Nature.
We got an update with Jimmy coming up here in a little bit. Brian Windhorst, Phil Steele, Brandon Vogel, all will join the show. We'll get to uniforms. People are clamoring for my just absolute scathing hot takes on the uniforms that were worn last night, whether it be pajamas, whether it be an ode to Tron, or they look like your favorite host or hostess, waiter or waitress at IHOP. You guys been to IHOP lately?
I have not been in the last couple of years, but I think I know what you're getting at.
Well, when you combine, like the blue and black or navy blue and dark blue.
Yep.
That's kind of the outfit at IHOP.
Yeah, because isn't it a little bit more of a royal blue top with black pants, if I remember correctly?
They've changed. IHOP is adjusting to the times.
That's good.
I smell a remote.
No longer is navy blue and black something that you can't mix anymore when it comes to suit choices. Because you do see that a lot now. You see the black shoes with like the navy suits. And there was a time that if you did that, the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, I was there. I find myself matching. like I'm wearing a hat today. I made sure that it matched the shirt that I was on or wearing on.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Hello,
you're-
I get
you're-
paid to play radio.
Your color scheme's fine.
But the navy jersey with the black pants.
No.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst Catholic grade school kid. I just wouldn't. It looked really, really bad. So I'm just here for team jerseys. Also, there was also a major faux pas last night in Seattle, which we have to discuss, that started when you got the introduction to the jerseys. So we'll get into that. Plus, Pat Fitzgerald's staff is hanging around.
Which is interesting.
All or nothing. I wonder if that helps Pat Fitzgerald's case. Interesting twists and turns in Evanston of whose side you're on and whose side you're not. But the outing of the whistleblower, that didn't take very long. That went quickly. So we'll get into that. Plus, Kirby Smart spoke yesterday. Big 12 coaches will speak today down in Arlington, where the commissioner, Brett Yormark, who is very, very aggressive, what will he have to say? He won't say anything about expansion because it's when you least expect it, those
Right.
kind of announcements come.
Yeah.
But
Might come 2 weeks
people
later.
be curious. A guy that's feeling pretty good. They're the third best conference in the league. I mean, there's the SEC and the Big Ten, which aren't very far apart. And then there's a gap. And then there's the Big 12. And then there's a little bit of a gap. Then there's the ACC. And then even though they might be the best football conference in terms of talent and storylines, The Pac-12? Live Golf can get a TV deal. The Pac-12 can't. What are we doing here?
It's a great
It tells you all you need to know.
All right, so football season is here with Big 12 Media Days starting. Jimmy is here with an update.
Yeah, and that's how I see it too. Once media days arrive, then so is football. So anyway, basketball will be here before you know it. And Creighton's non-conference schedule was released yesterday. It's a pretty good one. They'll host Wayne State November 3rd in its lone exhibition game. The regular season gets underway just 4 days later with a home game against Florida A&M November 7th, followed by the Bison of North Dakota State on November 11th at the Chi. Iowa will make its first visit to Omaha since 1999 for the Gavitt tip-off games. They close the 4-game homestand on November 18th against Texas Southern. Then Thanksgiving week in Kansas City, they'll be at the Hall of Fame Classic to play either Boston College, Loyola, Chicago, or Colorado State. Not all three at one time. That would be unfair. That'll be at the T-Mobile Center. The Jays' first true road contest will take place in the same week at Gallagher Iba against Oklahoma State November 30th. And then the much-anticipated battle against Nebraska at PBA on December 3rd.
I did notice one absence in that schedule. The other Division I team here in the city.
I wasn't going there.
I'm just saying. Some people were claiming that was going to be on the schedule.
Were you on the show last week?
Yeah.
I think I did a pretty good job of
I think you did.
squelching that.
In a way, I was trying to give you some, I was trying to slide some credit your way without actually doing it.
Let's just say when the Omaha men's basketball schedule is released, people will not be going, oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm just preparing you. It's built a little bit differently this year.
Bro.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Bro, you're wrong.
Hey, but
we already know where you're spending New Year's Eve.
That was a guy called Meat. That was another guy called Meat.
Oh, did you end up calling him Meat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because he kept calling you bro.
The Kansas State fan that got at me, I dropped Meat on him, and that conversation ended. The Creighton fan who was convinced that Omaha was replacing North Dakota State, and it was happening, and his sources told him, I said, well, I got the Omaha men's basketball schedule in front of me, and it's finalized, and I don't see Creighton. He's like, bro. And so I went bro back at him. And he goes, you can't. No, he said dog.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was dog.
He
was
first
Amy called you bro.
Right.
This guy called
you
you
first
dog.
went bro. And I said, I'm looking at the schedule. I go, I'm sorry that your sources led you down the path of the submersive. I go, but you're absolutely wrong. And then he came back at me with dog. And so I responded with him with dog. And he goes, ha, LOL. What are you in your 40s or 50s? You can't use dog. And so I said,
okay, then.
I said, Meat, have a good day. Never responded afterwards. It's
how can you respond to that?
That schedule, I mean, it's more manageable than last year. And they'll sprinkle in September the Big East games.
Yeah.
And then, there's always a couple of Big East games in December. That for a season ticket holder, and you've been rearranged and your price has gone up a little bit downtown in the hospital facility. You have a fan-friendly schedule.
Yeah.
Like that is to get Iowa and Alabama and a known mid-major in North Dakota State.
Yep.
That is a really good fan-friendly Creighton home non-con schedule.
Yeah, because then when you put the Big East schedule back on top of it too, that's going to look really nice.
I mean, Alabama, the game on December 16th is in my top 5 of must-attend sports events the rest of the year in Nebraska.
Yep.
Yeah, they got Central Michigan at home, and then the road game before the Alabama game is at UNLV, but they're going to play that in Henderson, not at Thomas and Mack. So whatever.
Anyway, good call, dog.
Is that the Jack Jones Classic? Is that what it's called?
Is it called the Jack Jones Classic?
Jack Jones.
Not to be confused with Jock Jones. They're talking about the Metrodome.
Well,
or number 11. Yeah. Sweet left-handed swing. Or
Jock
or
Jones.
Or everybody show up and drink Kool-Aid, Jones.
Well, I don't know if that do they have a name for that? Could they name it that?
That'd be called suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean that?
But if it's sponsored.
No, not that option.
Oh.
No.
The Jack Jones Hoop Fest is a premier college basketball tournament inside the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Man, how many
December
arenas do they
10th
have?
and 12th.
What does that seat?
It features Loyola Marymount. It features Fullerton. It features BYU. It features.
party.
Oh, wait a minute. This is from 2022. How about updating your Twitter account, Jack Jones Hoop Fest?
Jack Jones.
As for right now, we know it's Creighton and UNLV.
I should have been onto this because it's now out in Henderson. I think it's a standalone game.
Okay.
Oh,
it's not.
It's not the Jack. It's not the Jock Jones.
So it's not the Thomas and Mack. So
yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Michelob
It's not
Ultra
the Sphere.
Arena now, huh? I didn't even know Michelob Ultra had an arena.
Hey, you can tell Mac likes Vegas. They go to Vegas a lot.
Everybody has an arena out there.
Apparently.
But it's for fan friendly, that's a good home schedule. You shouldn't have any qualms about, oh man, I pay all this money and I get these bunch of buy games. You got a really, really nice
good
home
schedule and a good team on top of that.
You get Iowa in here. I wish Iowa and Creighton would have played a couple of years ago when Iowa was like the top of the Big Ten.
Yep.
But we get them in the Gavitt games. And then you can't beat. It's going to be not only a top 5 sporting event in Nebraska, it'll be a top 5 non-con game in college basketball, Alabama Creighton.
I think so.
Should have been an Elite 8 game. Now we'll get it.
I don't want to forget this. Forgot to get this in yesterday. And Emmett Olson selected in the 4th round the Major League Baseball draft by the Miami Marlins. He became the 6th 4th round selection in Nebraska history and was the number 10 pick overall in the draft. So I think we got everyone covered. Don't want to leave anyone out.
That's you got Jace Kaminska.
Well, we got Jace yesterday.
That was yesterday.
So yeah,
okay.
then forgot Emmett. And so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought we talked about the other guys who went, but okay, if you left Emmett out, I got you.
I felt bad.
Emmett Olson might be the first Husker in this draft to make the majors.
See, now I feel validated and I didn't forget him.
Well, given the organization and
left-hander,
what the guy projects.
Low 90s.
Yep. Movement, big body still developing as well. Still getting that stamina. Yeah. No, I've been on record as a huge Emmett Olson fan from the first time I saw him come in relief against Iowa out there in Iowa City, that his slider and just the movement on his pitches, it's noticeable, and he's only gotten better.
Darren Erstad, Ted Silva, 2 guys drafted in 8 years, 17th and 18th round. Will Bolt, Jeff Christie, not a bad little run.
No.
You would expect that to increase with the Will Bolt, Rob Childress connection.
Yes. And that's the thing, too. We kind of got into this with Andy yesterday when you had the Bryce Matthews, Max Anderson factor, but you get all 4 of those guys going in the first 10 rounds for a team that did not make the NCAA tournament. You can look at that 2 ways. You can say, what the hell? How did that not at least translate into a postseason experience? But you can also look at it from a recruiting standpoint and say, as good as guys like Lance Arvell, the reputation that Rob Childress has, and Will Bolt and the connections that they have not only within the state but also down south, you can really use that. I mean, you can really parlay that into even stronger recruiting classes, which give this coaching staff credit. And I'm with you when it comes to what you can attract pitching-wise when it comes to Rob Childress being your main guy. That was a very good 48-hour stretch for Nebraska baseball.
Well, I think one of the bigger takeaways, if you're doing recruiting, is Jace Kaminska.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaminska left Wichita State to come to Nebraska to get noticed.
Yep.
He got drafted in the 10th round by the Rockies. I would say mission accomplished. You can, if you're in the portal, and they've been aggressive in the portal with pitchers, that's a great selling point to say, hey, here's somebody who left Wichita State. They got in the portal. They came to Nebraska. They kind of bet on themselves, and we helped them to get drafted where they are.
Absolutely. And became their Saturday guy. Wasn't always, it wasn't, from start to finish a successful season from what he did on the mound. Like kind of all those guys had a little bit of a rough patch. But you're right. Mission accomplished. If you're not going to the NCAA tournament, if you're not playing in a regional or super regional, that's the one thing that you're trying to do right there. And Kaminska got it in the 10th round, which I think was probably a little bit further ahead than what a lot of people thought when it came to Jace. So that is a selling point.
That's a good start.
Absolutely it is.
If you're just waking up, went to sleep early, or you just didn't watch, and judging by what the ratings, you probably didn't. The National League wins the All-Star game for the first time since 2012. That was the game in Kansas City. Oh, man, that's a long time ago. After 9 straight losses to the American League, the skid ended thanks in part to Colorado Rockies catcher Elias Diaz. His go-ahead 2-run home run in the 8th inning helped seal a 3-2 victory. The NBA's Board of Governors approved 2 rule changes that will go into effect next season. A second coach's challenge if the first one is successful, and an in-game flopping penalty at it. They had their annual meeting at the Summer League yesterday. Oh, yeah, that's still going on. Huh? Anyway, both rule changes had been unanimously recommended to the Board of Governors by the league's competition committee, a group made up of players, union representatives, coaches, governors, executives, and referees. That'll be implemented next season. You mentioned him a little bit. Georgia football coach Kirby Smart said yesterday that he hasn't yet solved the speeding issue that has plagued his team, but that he is constantly looking and searching for ways to address it, perhaps grounding the kids. I don't know. Last week, freshman outside linebacker Samuel Kemba was ticketed for driving 88 miles per hour in a 55. According to records from the Oconee County Sheriff's Office, his speeding citation occurred about an hour before Bulldogs receiver Marcus Rosemead Jack Saint made an appearance in court in Athens, and he pled guilty to driving 90 in a 45. These are against the laws in Georgia and mostly everywhere else. His citation was at least the 11th traffic-related moving violation involving Georgia football players and their cars since January 15th, when offensive lineman Devin Willock and football staff member Chandler LaCroix were killed in that wreck.
Hey, Georgia's had a bad offseason.
Yeah.
Now, with the football stuff, they're absolutely
They're
just
loaded.
slaying.
Yeah.
Recruiting machine.
Their recruiting class for 24 that they're putting together. Again, they're building a super team. Their fan base is starting to become very annoying because people are overlooking Georgia to win their third straight title. Now they got to do it with a new quarterback. So there's a little hesitation, but they're loaded, and that schedule is not like you're going to get dinged week after week. They've had a bad offseason, but he did say something yesterday because they're in a battle with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about an article that was written of basically the program is out of control and how they've dealt with some of the allegations of sexual assault on their football program. He said something. Kirby said on average, they have 5 players that are the age of 18 that show up in Athens and don't have their driver's license
Which
yet.
is crazy to me.
But is it in the new day and age?
No.
Like, look at, I know you have friends that have teenagers. Like all of us, when we got 14, man, we wanted that driver's permit.
Yeah.
When we got 16, we wanted our driver's license.
Couldn't wait.
Kids nowadays are like,
rideshare.
It should not surprise you that more and more like 16, 17, 18-year-old kids do not have a driver's license because I don't think they have a desire to immediately get in a car like all of us did when we were growing up.
Which is, again, crazy to me. I know now you have more ability to get around, but rideshares, if you're paying for gas, if you're
just Uber it, baby.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, if you did like a study of what it would cost you from going to home to school, home to maybe your occasional hangouts, what gas would cost you on a monthly basis compared to Ubering.
When we were younger, your buddies would give you gas money. You get like $6. Like, man, I'm loaded. That's
Right.
more than half a tank.
Maybe I'm way off on this. Maybe it is somewhat comparable or at least competitive to do the rideshare thing, or but as a junior or senior when you're of age, are you having your parents still drop you off to school, or you hitching a ride with the one person amongst your friends that actually does have their license? Like, it's just it's completely like I can't put myself in that thought process because that's not how we were.
You also, also none of us we were probably at a place where mom and dad, we were in a 2-car family. You have some of these kids that probably are in a family that 8 people in the house share one car.
That's true.
Or
That's a good point.
Or they don't have a vehicle at all and they live in the inner city. So you do take the bus, you take the train, you walk places. The other thing, you were bringing up, and I think a little tongue in cheek, because I'm with Kirby Smart on the speeding issue, how you solve this, trying to figure out a solution. And I think you jokingly said, take away their keys.
Yeah.
I will tell you one of the most dramatic things when I went to the University of Minnesota for that first semester in college, freshmen couldn't have their cars on campus.
I've heard of this.
So I think Wisconsin at least at one point had the same thing.
I felt like I had no control. I didn't have my car. Like if I wanted to go and I love the Twin Cities, like to just go and drive, and I couldn't do that.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then it's like for the first year, I don't know if this is still the case at Minnesota, but your freshman, you couldn't have a car on campus.
I've heard other schools have that too.
If you were from out of state.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually heard that too. And that, again, I think of when you are especially new to an area, you're not familiar. There's a little, we talked about this with student athletes, that adjustment year, you get a little homesick. I would think that could be a nice little escape, or at least an opportunity to get familiar with your surroundings, depending on, place like in Minneapolis is obviously a lot bigger than, say, Mount Marty and Yankton, South Dakota, but having the opportunity to be able to kind of drive around and check out your surroundings, get a little more familiar and find some spots, like that would be tough. That would be a really tough adjustment. But I think it is more common, or at least was at one point more common at a lot of different schools. Because I know a buddy of mine that went to Wisconsin, I think said the exact same thing. As freshmen, they could not have their cars there either. They're from out of state guys.
And then when you do have your car, that pay to park is
Yeah.
Got 3 numbers in it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to work at the rec center a little bit longer. All right. Thanks, Jimmy. 19 past the hour. Coming up, Brian Windhorst at 8 o'clock. Phil Steele stops by as well. 352 pages of discussion.
Get ready.
Just
Get
gonna
our
tell
poll
you,
projections. Everyone.
The first question will be, let's go to page 2. The All Meathead radio team.
The All Meathead radio team.
Yeah, that's
it's a segment on Sirius Sports on the College Sports Network.
okay.
And so he put together his All Meathead
Okay.
team. That's what we should do in media here. Who is on the All Meathead team?
Well, we did the basketball question a few months ago, so yeah.
All Meathead.
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
That's to come. Chris, stay right there. We'll get to you when we come back. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's say you are sending your son or daughter off to school and they can have a vehicle, or you need a vehicle and you want to watch the tires go round and round and round. You know what? It's hard to beat the allure of a new vehicle. And with Woodhouse Buick GMC, they make buying your next car simple and easy. Back at the climate-controlled indoor showroom, 119th and I, you can see a full array of high-quality new and pre-owned vehicles for you. Woodhouse Buick GMC, with my experience, they simply have something for everyone. You want a stylish SUV with safety features, cargo room, infotainment? Check. You need a truck for business or pleasure? Check. I know as I'm looking for my next vehicle, competitive pricing on a wide selection can help me make the right decision. And Woodhouse Buick GMC does that for you. They take the confusion out of the process and the time out of the process as well. Do it in person, 119th and I, or online where all the same inventory and interaction is available at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
How much did you guys talk about this on the broadcast?
Turn it over to Mike Barron for his keys and some submersible takes.
Not mention
the
it
keys
once.
to the submersible.
Did you learn anything, Kevin, about submersibles in the last 3 days? We did not talk about it once.
He's under more pressure than.
No.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, the Connor Happer Show on Sportsmanlike Conduct, 6A to 6P, 1620, The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Strong storms likely Wednesday morning, mainly before 9 a.m. in the metro with damaging wind gusts and heavy rain potential. Scattered storms will stick around through the lunch hour, then trending drier in the afternoon with some more sunshine, highs in the mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Kugler Vision makes new vision affordable with no interest payment options with approved credit at KuglerVision.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have one accident to report eastbound along I-80 at 126th Street, so please be cautious if you're in that area. Then we're getting reports of traffic lights not working at 42nd and Sorensen Parkway and along Highway 370 at 126th Street. Then along 90th at Highway 370, that area is blocked due to some fallen power cables, so please be cautious if you're in that area as well. And then there's a fallen tree along Northwest Radial at 52nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Someone just won a beautiful new blue truck playing Trucks and Bucks 2023. So there are only 6 trucks left. Better get to a Nebraska Lottery retailer, buy a ticket, and play today. Top prize odds, 1 in 336,000.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Swift for Ted and Wally's Ice Cream, ultra premium ice cream. Of course, you can find it in the old market and in Benson as well, right next to Taste of New Orleans. One of the great things about Ted and Wally's is they work with local artisans. We're talking producers, farmers, and chefs to make sure they make the best ice cream for you. Over 3,000 unique flavors over 35 years. Ted and Wally's has ice cream for you. call ahead. Get yourself a half a gallon or maybe a quart so you have it at the house when you need some ice cream. And when you need ice cream, almost every single day. Swing by Ted and Wally's, whether it's in the old market, the original location, or in Benson, and grab yourself one of 3,000 flavors. And another thing about Ted and Wally's is they have keto-friendly ice cream. You're looking for an ice cream that's low-fat? They have that as well. Whatever you're looking for when it comes to ice cream, they have a variety for you, including one of my favorites, just the plain old vanilla. Check out Ted and Wally's 2 locations in the old market and in Benson. And when you go, tell them Severe sent you.
Acura of Omaha has more than 50 new Acuras in stock and ready for immediate delivery. All models, including Integras, TLXs, RDXs, and MDXs. Get the best price in just minutes at AcuraofOmaha.com.
No matter how dark it gets, there's always a sunrise, a warm bed, a warm meal, and hope. Sienna Francis House serves hope to those experiencing homelessness and addiction. Every day, we provide more than 1,000 meals and serve nearly 500 guests in our emergency shelter, Miracles Recovery Program, and supportive housing apartments, and help our guests navigate a path to permanent housing. Learn more at siennafrancis.org.
Oh, the weather outside is spiteful, but the deals at 42 degrees are delightful. It's the Christmas in July sale going on now. Get our premium Kratom for as low as $9.99. Santa's bag is bursting with disposables, starting at $12.99. Be everyone's favorite Secret Santa with glass, silicone, wood, or metal pipes from $11.99. With the most knowledgeable, friendly staff just south of the North Pole. Keep calm and jingle on with the Christmas in July sale. 42 degrees. By your mom's house.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Right, 27 past the hour. Jimmy's update talking about the Creighton schedule, which includes another trip to Vegas. If we get done talking to Chris, the ideal place for the Nebraska Creighton game. It's being played on a Sunday again.
Yeah.
People forget that it was played on a Sunday last year, and Nebraska beat Creighton downtown at the Hospital Arena.
Last game, the Chiefs lost.
Yes.
Same day.
Yeah.
Well, then
I was coming back from Dallas. I was in the last row, sitting next to a player that would be his last day with Omaha men's basketball, and we were both Chief fans, and we were watching the Chiefs and the Bengals on his iPad, and I had the Nebraska Creighton basketball game on my phone. I will always remember that day. Always remember Lamel. I hope he's doing well. Here is Chris in Vegas. Good morning, Chris. What's on your mind?
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, you guys were talking about them playing in Henderson. There's a new facility out here called the Dollar Loan Center. It's where the Henderson Silver Knights play, like the AAA team for the Golden Knights.
Is it a nice arena?
Yeah, actually, it really is. Probably for basketball, it'll probably be 9,000. They're playing like the Summer League and G League here and everything. They play a lot of stuff out there. They have a
Big West tournament
team out there, indoor football.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know. So Creighton and UNLV play on the 13th. New Mexico and Santa Clara play on the 9th. It's too bad you can't get a doubleheader there, but I mean, Creighton and New Mexico are top 45.
whole issue with that is that's when the rodeo is in town.
That's right. I've been there for the rodeo, and you ain't fooling, man. The Thomas and Mack Center is bumping.
Oh, it's something else. It's an experience. It's a great experience. And also, 2 weeks before that, we have the F1 race here too.
Oh, what a mess.
Jeez.
Hey, so I know.
Yes, it is a mess.
I know, knowing you live in Vegas, and I have a handful of friends there. For people that live there day to day, you have to give them something to go down to the Strip. Other than that, they're like, "Nah, I'm good."
Nope.
Are you
Yeah,
Have you
exactly.
been down to visit the MSG Sphere at the Venetian?
I have been by there
Okay.
multiple times just because with my job and everything,
Okay.
and it's impressive. But again, the traffic all around there right now because they're redoing all the roads. They're building the paddock for the F1 is just ridiculously crazy. Let's put it this way: they are building everything out there without building permits. They are paying They are paying all the penalties.
Wow.
Oh, hello.
Wow.
That's
it's costly.
Well,
they told Nevada Power they wanted all the above ground power lines underground, and they got till November to get it done. And they don't care. They don't care the price.
That F1 is huge. I saw. So they show some beauty shots during the Summer League, and you can see. When they're down by the Bellagio and Caesar's Palace, they'll pull out from a shot, and you can see the paddock being built in the background.
The paddock is being built over there off of Koval and Flamingo area over there behind what's now the Horseshoe and all that. And it's crazy. I'm telling you, I hate going down there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, welcome to Vegas. You'll get the A's here soon, Chris.
Yeah. Well, you already know my opinion on that.
Yeah, but you get the Super Bowl in February.
Yeah, that'll be fun watching all the buses and charter cars and Ubers and everything go around because there's no parking there.
Hey, Chris, thanks for the call.
Hey, have a good one. Stay safe, guys.
That's
wow, that sounds like a big mess.
It does. That stressed me out just listening to everything they have going on, what they're doing. But oh my gosh, without permits, it's costly.
That Formula One that race is huge there. It's going to be mammoth. I wonder if could we do the reverse in motorsports? Could NASCAR go somewhere outside of this country that is not? Because I think one time they went to Mexico. Could NASCAR pick up and go like to London and have anywhere near the type of impact that when Formula One has come to Miami, Austin, or now Vegas, the kind of impact that they have?
I don't know if it'd be the same, but I think there'd be interest just because it's something different. Yeah. Because was it Harvick? Was it Kevin Harvick who said that after Chicago that they wanted to, if you've now hosted like Nashville did too, like you should be so far down the list because they just want to keep doing something different. So that to me, like London going overseas like that would be.
Why can't we have a race here in Omaha? You know, when I was,
I think you know the answer to that, my friend.
Well, hold on here.
Dodging potholes. That could be fun.
Hold on here.
I'd watch.
Hold on here. Mayor Gene, line 1, please. I have a question. So
could really fund that streetcar though.
In Des Moines, they used to have the Des Moines Grand Prix, and it went away when they had the big floods in the early 90s. It basically ate up downtown Des Moines. Bye, there goes the track.
Yeah,
but it was pretty popular. And
I think it'd be cool.
It wasn't the Indy cars. It was, I can't remember the class, but it was like a thing to go to do.
Yeah.
You know, like the Des Moines Grand Prix or the Corn Belt Grand Prix or whatever it's called. Think about it. So I was watching the race in Chicago, and some of those streets are still not open.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's nobody that's upset about that.
No.
But if you think about like stretches of downtown, like where the ballpark is, into the old market, or that whole stretch along, was it 10th?
Into Old Market?
Why can't we have a street race in Omaha?
You got me thinking in the Old Market too, especially to get on the cobblestone area.
Well, I don't think you could make the turn there.
No. I would pay to see it though.
But like 10th Street around the ballpark.
Yeah, there's areas once you get over by the ballpark that you'd probably have like decent pathways where it wouldn't be like immediate turns and you'd have to like go from like 100 like down to like 10 because in some of the stretches in Chicago, I mean, they were max speeding like a little over like 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you saw them breaking down to like almost 40 miles an hour taking turns. It's hard for me to envision that, but because you said Old Market, that's where I thought that would.
Yeah, I
be
don't think we'll be going across the cobblestone.
That would be a little tight there. Again, I would pay to see it.
And
I would pay to see it.
And I would feel bad because the horses then would have to take the day off.
What are they doing? They're going to have to find another route. But
I mean, it was a good idea until we started talking about it out loud.
You'd have to take care of some potholes.
All right, so to wrap up Creighton announcing their non-con yesterday, not trolling, not being snarky. If you just look at the non-con, and they're going to sprinkle a couple of Big East games in December in there, where's the first loss for Creighton? I mean, seriously, the MTE in Kansas City is Wilson College, Loyola, Colorado State. I mean, this isn't a couple of years ago. There's the trip to Stillwater. There's a game at UNLV.
Okie State could be pesky.
I mean, is it? And I'm saying prior to December 16th against Alabama, is it the game on December 3rd in Lincoln? 951-1620. But that game, which I got the promotional hat on now.
I see that.
We like that game on a Sunday. It's going to interfere with Nebraska's bowl announcement on that day. Okay, but everybody will be at Pinnacle Bank Arena and everybody can celebrate.
Don't let that slip by what
whether
you just
you're
said.
wearing blue or red, you'll be able to celebrate on December 3rd in Pinnacle Bank Arena when Nebraska has announced what bowl game they're going to for the first time.
And many in blue will.
In a long time. Like they will pause the game and everybody in unison will be like, I can't wait to go to Phoenix.
Yep.
J-Skers.
They'll have a graphic right up there on the video board that will say Nebraska has happily accepted an invite to the Pinstripe Bowl.
Now, I would like...
Oh, no. It'll be the one at the ballpark in Phoenix.
Guaranteed rate.
Okay, guaranteed
rate. We're a year late. I thought Nebraska and
K-State
were going to play not last year.
They've been good.
So this game, which Nebraska hasn't held up their end of the bargain by any means, to get on the level where Creighton is, where you could make this game like a semi-national appealing game that they would put in a better time slot instead of sticking it on a Sunday against the NFL in the month of December. Right. I've been a proponent because I would like to grow this game. I'm going to need some help from Fred to make it 2 in a row to start to build this up. Is I would like to see this kick off the season.
Oh, okay.
So the season begins on the first Monday in November this year. Can you imagine the Creighton-Nebraska game as the opener? Like the build up for that game to begin the season. And then once it's over, you move on and you begin your season. But you have a standalone, not anywhere near football, kick off the season, Nebraska-Creighton. Because here's what's going to happen with that. When they announce the start time in whatever network, BTN or Fox, whoever picks it up, is it's going to be like at 4:00 or 3:00. I just don't want it to be a night game because that's the same night that Kansas City is at Green Bay.
Oh,
so you've thought chilly about that night.
Oh, I've already thought about this because I want the Creighton Nebraska game in men's basketball to be bigger, but one team's got to join my party. But I would love to see this kick off the season.
I'm curious if you asked both Fred and Mac what your thoughts on that would be. Am I crazy to think Mac would say, because, we're talking first game, you got the exhibition out of the way. So as the schedule stands right now, you're looking at November 7th. That's when they play Florida A&M. So if you were Creighton with the team that you have.
And by the way, you owe Nebraska, so you would like to beat them by 75.
But you do have, again, a feeling out period, as every team, even with experience, is going to have. Are you loving playing your in-state rival that early?
Let's go, baby.
Where you probably have more to lose.
Hey, basketball day in Nebraska.
I'm not against it.
Let's go. Let's go. Trev, Marcus.
I bet you Fred wouldn't hate it as much as Mac. I don't think Mac would like it. Now, let me ask you this, though.
I will probably... Creighton could play Nebraska in Ashland at Frost House, and Creighton would look forward to it this year.
What about... Because I'm also not a huge fan of the Sunday one, and I understand the weekend you want to make it accessible for as many fans as you can. I also like the weeknight time slot. I wouldn't hate the Thursday before. a Thursday night primetime game. You got Friday the next day. Then you've
I
got
don't know if-
then you got championship Saturday.
I don't know if we can compete with Bezos. He's got he's got Thursday night locked up.
I think you can. I just think you can. That Thursday night. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing
What
it being
clunker
a
do they
week-
have that Thursday night?
I don't know. But
Tennessee and Jacksonville.
Oh,
probably.
I mean, now that's
it's either Tennessee and Indianapolis
One
or
of those-
Jacksonville and
yeah.
Indianapolis or
It's
yeah.
flipped. One of those teams
Yeah.
is actually appealing.
Yeah. Somebody from the AFC South is probably playing.
Houston and
But I mean,
well, they can flex by then, I believe.
I mean, we can only do so much on the show, but at least we can bring everybody together. That you'll be inside of Pinnacle Bank Arena, and everybody will be celebrating Nebraska's bowl announcement that day.
And you're right. Even the ones in blue. Be very excited.
It's good for the economy of the state.
Mhm.
Now back to regular programming.
Do you think that they stage that? It comes right during a media timeout too. Like, hold off on this. Do not release it because we've got
Can
an
you
arena
feel it
full of
playing
people.
and-
Yeah. Can you feel the first bowl returns in 2016?
They'll announce the bowl game, and they will immediately start selling tickets, like in the concourse.
Yep. Well, there'll be a PA announcement following that of
What's the
where
max
you can
I
go
can buy?
on each section of Pinnacle Bank Arena where you can start buying your tickets now. Hell, they might even have the bowl representative at the game wearing some weird colored sports coat.
Well, if it's that one, yeah, I think the Fiesta Bowl people still run it. So
Creighton, I saw Rob Anderson tweet this out, or D1, a basketball site. So Creighton is the 15th school to release their non-con. Omaha is going to release theirs shortly because the Summit League portion of the schedule is done with Western Illinois being out. Nebraska's schedule, they're just waiting on the Big Ten, but Nebraska's non-con schedule is pretty much done. And you got the trip to the Pentagon.
Yep.
In Sioux Falls, not in DC. You've got, because
That would be cool. That would be awesome.
They should do that.
Right?
But it might, like, you might have to go through some red tape.
You know, you got,
And also, like, where are you
you
going to play it? In the middle?
Yeah, in the middle. That's what I think. Because, we've had the carrier games. Why can't we have something like in the heart of our defense sector?
Do you think there's a player at one of these schools that is going up to play at the Pentagon? Because I just saw like South Dakota State and Towson State are playing there as well.
That they think
There's
they're really going.
Some player like, oh, coach, man, when you recruited me, you didn't tell me I was going to get to go back home and play before friends and family. And they're like, no,
Wrong Pentagon.
There's a little bit of a difference between Washington, D.C. and Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
But I mean, if we start getting really confused, then hey, district, step up. Let's play that in the smack dab in the middle.
So I think maybe by the end of the month, or at least before, because all three teams are going on trips. Creighton goes to the Bahamas, Nebraska goes to Spain, and Omaha goes to Costa Rica. They may have their non-cons all out before they go on their European trip.
When's that Costa Rica trip for Omaha, by the way?
August 3rd through the 11th.
Okay. Still no invite?
No.
That's not cool.
Not even like a hint.
It's not even cool.
Hey, no.
You've been so good to our program. Maybe we could get some hits, some updates on the games going on. Why don't you come with us,
I don't
Gary?
have an updated passport. And
no,
right now,
that's a
that's
problem.
just, I mean,
Yeah, you'd need at least 2 months, probably longer.
I'm thinking about going to Greece in 27, so I should be able to get my passport by then.
Oh, I'd hope so. Because I had to renew mine this year, and it took
mine
about
expired
5
last
weeks.
year.
I want to say about 5 weeks.
We'll get into it a little bit later.
Your passport?
Because all three with pretty, I think some are higher than others, but pretty good expectations. The benefit of going on a trip where you get the extra 10 practices.
Yeah.
I mean, it greatly benefits red, blue, and black Nebraska.
Mhm.
All right, 43 past the hour. Brian Windhorst going to join us in about 15 minutes. Phil Steele this morning and Brandon Vogel on a Wednesday edition after the All-Star game, which the National League won for the first time since 2012. Now we take another couple of days off from baseball, and the Big 12 says, hello. Big 12 Media Days are about to start in Arlington. It's all right here on 1620 The Zone.
Get out to Woodhouse Mazda for the CX-90, folks. This thing is as impressive as it gets when you're talking about the Mazda lineup and their CUVs. First of all, you've got the luxury of having the ability to seat 8 passengers, and obviously a lot of room for all of your cargo as well. But also when you're making those trips, hey, you want to save on gas at the pump? Well, they've got a class-leading EPA estimated 25 combined miles per gallon on the CX-90. It's perfect for that summer travel. And if you're looking to make sure that you have everybody in the vehicle traveling as safe as possible, well, the safety technology will give you the confidence Mazda brings to all their vehicles, including this Mazda CX-90. And you'll know that you are getting where you need to be safe as possible. Got a new little wrinkle to the Mazda technology as well, and that is their driver personalization system. It is a driver-enabled system that will suggest an ideal driving position based on driver height and a scan that will find the center point between the driver's eyes to adjust mirror, steering wheel, and driver's seat position. Taking this thing on a test drive a little more than a month ago, you realize that especially whether you have a large family, small family, or you just want to kind of cruise in style, this one has it all. It's got style, size, and comfort. You're going to love it. It's now available at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda off of 144th and Giles Road. You can shop during the Season of Discovery event. Shop, finance, and buy online at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com. You can chat with a sales team member. Get your deal started in the comfort of your own home. You can easily schedule a test drive, check vehicle availability, and much more. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
You get more with Murphy Tractor. We'll help you choose the right John Deere construction piece of equipment, performance tier, attachments, tech package, and financing options to fine-tune your fleet. Each of our 29 locations has a diverse lineup of new, used, and rental equipment, along with a wide variety of parts inventory and experienced service technicians. Give us a call at 855-246-9124 or visit us online at murphytractor.com.
We've all had this happen. Somebody says something about a thing, and then a couple of days later, you see an ad for that thing pop up on your news feed. Weird, right? Well, in an honest attempt at not being weird, Langfeld Overhead Doors would like you to remember them when you or your friends need a new garage door. You can trust the professionals at Langfeld Overhead Door to repair or replace your garage door. You can also trust them not to listen in on your conversations, because that's weird. Langfeld Overhead Door, 402-234-2700.
Stay cool this summer with AC Pro and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after mail-in rebate with the purchase of select AC Pro ready-to-use refrigerant products that include a hose and gauge. Beat the heat before you hit the road with AC Pro at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you can sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, speaking of Vegas, Creighton is going out there to play in December once again. Love them some Vegas. You can always tell, like a head coach, what he likes to do and what cities he likes to go to. Like DH like Vegas. We make a couple trips out to Vegas. He liked warm parts of the country. Mac likes himself some Vegas.
Yep.
Likes himself some warm weather when we get to December. Yeah, so that is smart scheduling. But speaking of Vegas, and I know a friend listens to the show. Do you know Mike Green Walsh, the AD over at Omaha South?
Yeah, he used to be the Omaha North baseball coach.
Yeah, so big baseball guy.
Mm-hmm.
How about this? So he's the Omaha South athletic director. Again, great guy. Loves baseball. I think actually in charge of the Legion, right?
Yes.
In the Metro Legion.
At least he was.
He is, I didn't know this until I saw a story on Channel 7. He is going to be participating in the World Championships for Golden Tee.
Really?
Yeah. It's a really good story. I believe it was his father that passed away.
Okay.
And to take his mind off everything, he started to play Golden Tee, I think during the COVID year, and got really, really good. And he has qualified for the World Championships in Vegas, which are this weekend. The winner gets $25,000. So great story.
Wow.
Good luck to Mike. He's one of those good dudes, that listens to the radio station, but also because of what I do with high school sports in the area, you run across him.
Mm-hmm.
Wishing him well.
Help we get an update after the weekend.
Now, you know what? I will send you his info. Let's see if we can get Mike on.
All right.
And then we can talk about the history of Golden Tee in the state of Nebraska.
I was going to ask, is there going to be someone else that we might know of that could be participating?
He wasn't very good.
Okay, so he did not master his craft.
There was somebody else that was better at Golden Tee than Scott was.
And coaching.
Wow. Holy cow.
Wait, someone amongst the coaching staff that was better than Scott?
Somebody on the staff.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jimmy, holy geez.
I liked it, Jimmy. I liked it.
You're like the Undertaker warding off sharks from his wife. Right there. You came off the top rope.
Hey, we started the morning with power flashes. Anything goes.
I still think that one of the best, the only resolution to the whole Golden Tee thing. Someday this is going to be in a book, right?
Yes.
I hope. He ain't going to do the podcast anymore. He stopped shopping that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that essentially 1890 owns that Golden Tee game?
It's legendary.
That's like the perfect resolution to the mysterious Golden Tee game.
Yeah. This thing is legendary, man.
Recruits take pictures with
Hell
it.
yeah.
I would play it. I mean, I would too.
I would too.
I always had a dream of having a Golden Tee machine in my basement and having like a little tournament, like an annual tournament amongst friends.
Like when we played NCAA football in college. Go all night.
So it wasn't Golden Tee, or maybe it was. Has Golden Tee been around for almost 30 years?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay,
Definitely. Definitely.
Before the Memorial Stadium Golden Tee became so popular, one of the most popular Golden Tees was at P.O. Pears. The now long gone P.O. Pears in downtown Lincoln.
It was probably one big console where you don't have the separate, like the standalone island console, then the flat screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was like one of the OGs.
Yeah.
And it was super popular. We'd go there for lunch and play. Like
it's addictive.
It's just like feeding money in.
Yeah, it's addictive.
Lincoln hasn't been, poll question, Lincoln hasn't been the same since P.O. Pears left.
Oh, I thought you were going to say since the Golden Tee and P.O. Pears left. I see.
Man, we need a Golden Tee machine here.
I've only heard of P.O. Pears. I had never gone. So,
Bobby J was fantastic. Him and Rocket. Oh, that was a place that when young Gary Sharp in Lincoln, Nebraska. Let's say I used the right hand when I was completing layups. Hey, I also had a wingman. You know what my wingman was back in those days? Mike DiGiacomo and Groove Puppet.
Really?
Oh, they start playing.
Yeah. Mike DiGiacomo.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
And he's a good dude.
I'm running in the end zone, taking my helmet off like Calvin Jones in the back of P.O. Pears on the dance floor. Yes.
What was it? I know every one of those places had like a signature, like
the lips
day or night as far as super ridiculously cheap drinks.
Any day that ended in Y.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You see, that's a better sign of a good place.
All right, thanks for going down memory lane there.
You're
All
welcome.
because of a Golden Tee game.
Golden Tee will. I think I'll give this for Scott Frost. Not that Golden Tees have ever gone away. I think they're great. But I think as we've gone to our favorite watering holes and we see it, you kind of give it, I don't know if you guys do this, kind of give it a glance. And then you look around at your table like, probably should just hang out with our friends. I don't think anybody here wants to go play Golden Tee, but you look at it and you're like, man.
And you see that
Spend some hours.
The top score is 1,631.
And then you're like, yeah, it's gonna take a while.
Initials are ASS.
1,600.
Adam says the best Golden Tee machine in Omaha was at the famous Blue Jay Bar.
Okay.
Well, there should be a 30 for 30 locally on stories out of the Blue Jay Bar.
Yeah. Yep.
Some of the most famous people, whether they're attached to Creighton or attached to the city of Omaha, had their moments in the Blue Jay Bar.
And you know what the finale would be? It would be when we had to, remember when COVID first started and you had to do contact tracing? The first actual case went to the Blue Jay Bar. You had to track them from like the West Omaha Walmart to the Blue Jay Bar. Then they went to the Creighton game. So you're like, if I was at the Blue Jay during that time, I better keep an eye open for some symptoms. I just remember that being part of like the public report, thinking, oh my gosh, what is going to happen to that person? And then we thought, oh, it's at the Blue Jay Bar. That sounds about right.
Did I get this impression about P.O. Pears? Dennis goes, did you get married at P.O. Pears?
I never thought that at all.
I got married at Sanibel Harbor Resort in Sanibel, Florida.
No, I didn't catch that.
Which was nothing like P.O. Pears, trust me.
You missed it though, didn't you?
Lot cheaper at P.O. Pears than Sanibel Harbor Resort.
Do you think anybody
took it as you had some fun at P.O. Pears?
Well, it brings up a better question. Do you think anybody has been married at P.O. Pears?
Dennis, to answer your question, I wasn't looking for like the married type at P.O. Pears.
And if you were,
I was looking for
good luck.
I was looking for a companion to watch games with.
They were good then, so.
Do you think there were weddings performed there at P.O. Pears?
There might have been. They had a loyal clientele.
Yeah.
I had pictures on the wall there.
Of you?
Yeah.
Doing stuff?
Well, like being there. Because they were big Lincoln Stars fans. That was the place to go after Lincoln Stars game.
Okay.
So Lincoln has not been the same since Steve Peterson got hired. Lincoln Stars became less popular, and P.O. Pears left. Anything else? Oh, and crime went up.
I just love the fact you brought up the group puppets.
And we're just building high rises, and we're just randomly tearing down long-standing gas stations in downtown Lincoln because apparently that piece of land is popular. Rule, you got your work cut out for you.
You do.
All right.
Build it back up.
Brian Windhorse. Yes, the Brian Windhorse will join us coming up next. Phil Steele stops by as well. And then Brandon Vogel on, it looks like the severe weather has moved its way out of Omaha, but it has left some damage around the city. The severe thunderstorm that rolled through here in the 6 o'clock hour. So you might have your insurance agent or your John Higgins roofery guys on speed dial this morning. It's halfway home. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, tonight, well, you can watch the ESPYs, I guess, or you can watch a little NBA Summer League. Not a lot going on, but everything is always a good time at DJ's Dugout when it comes to 7 metro convenient locations. Great place as Little League seasons are wrapping up to host those team parties because they can accommodate every party, no matter what the size is, at all of their locations at DJ's Dugout. And don't forget daily food and drink specials. Like today, Wednesday, how about dozen wings for $11.99 traditional and $10.99 boneless. Also, you got Jack and Crown special going on, and that's just one of many daily drink and food specials at DJ's Dugout. Get out to DJ's Dugout where they are locally and Vietnam veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have multiple accidents to report, starting with one southbound along the North Freeway at Ames Avenue. Then there's another accident reported northbound along 33rd Street between Dodge and Paxton Boulevard. And a third accident that has the left lane blocked northbound along the JFK at F Street. Then we're still getting reports that Northwest Radial at North 52nd Street is blocked still due to a fallen tree. And 90th Street along Highway 370 is also blocked due to some fallen power cables. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Everyone knows Saul's pays top dollar for your gold, but Saul's pays cash on the spot for your precious metals too. Silver, gold, platinum, coins, bars. Who wants to wait to get paid? Get to Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Saul's Jewelry and Loan. You'll find it all at Saul's Jewelry.
Attention homeowners, are you ready to unleash the power of savings? J-Tech Construction and Solar, the official exterior experts of the Huskers, has an exclusive offer. Purchase any 2 trades from our winning lineup of services: windows, doors, siding, roofs, gutters, and solar, and receive a 10% discount on your entire purchase. Click yourexteriorexperts.com to schedule your free consultation today. Double up on savings and save with J-Tech Construction and Solar, the official exterior experts of the Huskers. Click yourexteriorexperts.com.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Kugler Vision. Kugler Vision makes new vision affordable with no interest payment options with approved credit. How do you find out about these great options? Well, you go to kuglervision.com to book a consultation where you will then meet personally with the doctor, and all of the questions that you have will get answered. I went through this process 5.5 years ago. You can do the same today. Head to that website and book a consultation online, kuglervision.com.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com. This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone. Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street, next to Cubby's. It's Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
All right, we are lucky enough because I think his world has stopped for just momentarily. The hardest working man in the business. You see him everywhere, and I mean everywhere. You might see him at the grocery store on Maple, the Hy-Vee.
You might see him at Indian Creek Golf Course every now and then when he has time.
ESPN's Brian Windhorst joins us. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. I played my second round of the year yesterday.
Did you play in the Pinnacle Bank Media Scramble again?
No, I didn't even know what was going on, unfortunately.
So how did we shoot?
Well, like I said, it was my second time of the year.
Okay.
That's all. I'll leave it at that.
Were you not keeping score, Wendy?
You know, it's one of those things where you keep score until you don't.
Yeah, okay. I got you. So you golfed is what you're telling us. You golfed. Yeah.
That's right.
Now, how many times did you check your phone while you were golfing?
Yeah, I know. I wish I could go to the point. It's a wonderful thing when you can just put your phone in your bag. I'm not there. I'm not there yet. So I was texting with agents in between shots at times.
Oh.
I wish I could blame my performance on that, but that wouldn't be fair.
Hey, before we get into some NBA stuff, and we'll talk some Ohio State football as well, can we talk about when you go on ESPN and you're either doing shots from here or somewhere else, and they do that backdrop that looks like a Catholic school gym? Can we work on a better backdrop for you?
You don't like that?
Well, I'm waiting for someone to walk behind you to really believe that it's real. Like, I want to see, like, maybe they're setting up for lunch. Like, you start seeing some tables rolled out.
You know what I always say? A lot of people, want to know, like, where is this gym that you're always in? Where is this gym? And, people who work at ESPN and elsewhere in the sports industry, they have no idea where Omaha is. They think it's a suburb of Chicago, or they think it's, just outside Denver. And I say, oh, in Omaha, all of us have gyms in our house. we all have farm. We all corn our backyard in gyms right off our house. So I just let them think that I'm in my gym at my house, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say, and I like it that way.
So I know we don't have enough time for this, and we got to carve out a time that you can actually come in studio, because I hate doing this to you, and I know it's probably have to give the highlights of this, but let me just ask you this, and I'll let the guys in on what had happened, so we don't take up all of your time. Have you had any Village Point movie theater experiences like you did at Trainwreck?
Huh?
No, I
Okay.
haven't in a long time.
Okay.
I stopped going to theaters on Tuesday.
Oh.
That was one of those summer Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And, it's $5 or whatever it is, and it attracts a different level of clientele. So, no, I've never had that happen, and that is one of my great Omaha stories.
It's fantastic.
Brian Windhorst from ESPN. If people don't know, Brian and his wife have made their home here in Omaha. So you'll see him periodically out and about, but of course you see him on ESPN. Hey, it was the anniversary of the decision. I'm coming home, LeBron leaving Miami to Cleveland. You remember what that day was like for you? I know that you had an inkling, and you already in your gut knew that he was going to leave Miami and go back to Cleveland. But what was that day like for you? Coming up on 9 years ago?
Well, I was just so afraid of jumping the gun and being wrong, because if you say he's going to do something and then he doesn't do it, you'll be remembered for that. Just think about how pretty much all of the NBA moves now get done by about July 2nd or 3rd, unless you have a stalemate. We waited for that for 9 days into free agency. That's unheard of today. Today, all the major moves that can get done, sometimes they can't. All the major moves that can get done typically get done within the first 36 hours. And so what was crazy about that was just the amount of weight. And there wasn't much that was coming from people around LeBron. They were holding their cards very close to their vest. Even the Cavs, in the end, the Cavs found out after the letter was published.
Really?
The Sports Illustrated letter was published that he was returning to Cleveland, and then he called the Cavs and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to be re-signing." So that is why, the thing about basketball, and we see this at the college level all the time, as people go crazy for these individual recruits. One player can change so much because of the nature of basketball, and that is a classic example of that. The Miami Heat, when LeBron was in a total prime of his career, they had gone to 4 finals. The entire center of the NBA world was focused on Miami. LeBron said 3 words, and the Cavs were in the next 4 finals and won a title and had one of the great runs. And completely, Miami was left as a barren wasteland as far as NBA was concerned. I think it's still doing okay as a city. And Cleveland became and Golden State, the 2 hubs of the NBA. So that's the thing about, and it happens this time of year. We see these changes, and there's a lot put into it. We spend a lot of time talking about the possibility of the changes and whatever on ESPN, which can be annoying. But the reason we do is because they're so seismic in this sport.
Yeah. Well, and Wendy, speaking of seismic, and I know you are following, his path into the draft and what Victor Wembanyama means for this next generation of basketball talent. When you watch him, and we got a little taste of it over the weekend in Vegas too, when you watch him And when you kind of not even just his physical skill set, but just the type of person as well. What do you kind of pull from just the time you were able to kind of follow him and what you saw in Vegas this last weekend?
Yeah, so he's different than some of the other guys that we've seen come in and be, we knew were going to be huge players, such as LeBron. There was, because you're still kind of guessing on what he's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard for some fans who have heard some hype and they're like, oh man, they think he's going to come in maybe an average 20 and 10. And I think he will have a lot of 20 and 10 games, but he's still very young and still very much developing. But we've frankly just never seen a guy this big who's this skilled. That's the best way I can put it. He's a little bit, he's not afraid to talk about how good he is. He's kind of a little bit brash, but because he says it kind of smoothly with a French accent, it doesn't always come off with edge.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is, he doesn't want people to know that he's actually 7'5" in shoes. He keeps saying he's 7'3", but he's 7'4" basically in his bare feet. And in the NBA, they typically measure people in shoes because that's what they play in. I don't know if you ever heard. And so he's actually 7'5". And so you have to consider, he's 5 inches taller than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Now, Jokic's skills are crazy, and he is now the new class of the NBA, and especially the way he can be a playmaker and things. But I want you to think of 5 inches.
Yeah.
So add 5 more inches, and this guy is as skilled as anybody who's ever seen at that size. So that is why people are so excited. He is going to have some growing pains, literally, physically, because people are going to target him. He is very light. He's about 220 pounds. He probably will end up maybe about 240. I don't think he's going to ever really bulk up huge, but he's going to just grow. And he might not even be done growing height-wise. He might even get a little bit taller than he is. So I think with him, it's more of an excitement of potential, and that's something that's going to take some patience.
Brian Windhorst from ESPN joining us. You get asked about this now every day, and this is the storyline, and it could go on for a while because the guy's got 4 years left on his deal. What becomes the tipping point of Dame Lillard and Portland?
So basically, as far as I can tell, I don't think there's a lot of serious bidders right now. And I'm sure that there have been a number of teams that have called and shown interest in Portland. But as far as teams saying, here is our offer, you didn't like that offer, okay, here's a better offer, I just don't think that's happening. I think part of the reason is because Dame Lillard has made it so clear he only wants to play in Miami. And that is what Portland is battling, because his agent has gone out there and sort of tried to tunnel away to Miami, which is what you have to do when you have years left on your contract. And, I think Miami's looking around saying, well, who's seriously bidding against us? Well, Portland obviously doesn't like Miami's offer, whatever it is. And Miami's like, well, why should we improve it? We don't have any other offers. So it's Portland basically saying, well, fine, we'll sit here and wait.
Yeah.
And we've seen this happen over the years in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it. We've seen, trade me standoffs last 4, 5, 6 months. Hopefully that's not the case here, but I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah. At what point does Pat Riley in Miami kind of begin to bid against themselves? At some point, to try to get this thing through, you get closer and closer to, the preseason, the regular season, and you still got a guy on the roster, but everybody kind of knows his desire to play elsewhere. At what point does Pat Riley have to, again, bid against himself?
Well, that's why this is sort of interesting, because they have this draft pick, Scoot Henderson, who only got to play, unfortunately, 1 game in Vegas because he had a shoulder injury. But, he's who they want to re-begin their franchise with. So they have sort of their replacement player. The last time we saw a situation kind of like this was Anthony Davis, when he said, I want to go, and I only want to go to the Lakers. That was slightly different because he only had 1 year on his contract.
Right.
But ultimately, the Pelicans acquiesced because they had this number 1 draft pick, Zion Williamson, who they were going to make the new face of their franchise. That hasn't necessarily worked out yet, although it's not over. But so the fact that the Blazers have this guy who they want to pivot to, I think ultimately will create its own pressure. You don't want to start training camp with Scoot Henderson as the guy you want to sort of start to really develop as your franchise player, with this hanging over the team and hanging over him. And I think Miami knows that. So my guess is ultimately, while we're in posturing mode and everybody's about to go on vacation, ultimately when it comes time, there will be a deal done, because both teams, both Miami and Portland, which is where I think you'll end up. I mean, I think that there's a possibility of another team lurking out there or two. But I think ultimately they'll decide that their best bet and the best thing for the two teams is to make a deal, and I think we'll see one eventually.
How is, or if it's not going to work, how is Chris Paul going to work in Golden State? That was I know he was in Vegas, so they put together to announce his addition to the Warriors. But Brian, it was a little bit awkward yesterday. There's nobody from Golden State that was there, and we know he's been asked about coming off the bench and playing with the other guys that are in Golden State. But how is this going to work in San Francisco this year for CP3?
Yeah, I know this is sort of awkward, especially if you're not a really savvy NBA fan. I know there's a lot of casual NBA fans here in Omaha. Why is this happening? Why would Chris Paul be there? And really, it's a glorified salary move. I mean, they made this move to dump a bunch of salary so that they could afford to pay Draymond Green, and who they just re-signed on a $100 million deal. They already have Steph Curry on a $200 million deal, and Klay Thompson has 1 year on his contract, and they really want to keep those three guys together. And to afford them, they kind of had to dump some money, and that's what they did here. They traded Chris Paul, who has 1 year on his contract, for a player in Jordan Poole, who had 4 years on his contract. And by removing the money for Jordan Poole, they can afford these salaries. And so that's awkward, because you traded for a Hall of Fame player who is saying he wants to play more years, and you're basically saying that you're going to be a backup. And so it's a salary move, but they can't come out and say it's a salary move, even though we can all see that. So I don't know if Chris Paul will end the season with the Warriors. Maybe he'll start the year and he'll fit in really well, but what Chris Paul does is not what the Warriors typically do. His style of play is not their style of offense. The Warriors try to have a free-flowing system where everybody's moving all the time, and Draymond Green is running around setting screens, and the ball is, finding Steph Curry, finding Klay Thompson, finding Andrew Wiggins, finding Jordan Poole. Chris Paul is sort of a hub and spoke system. He's the guy who has the ball. He creates the action and then picks where it goes. That's not how they play. So I expect there to kind of be two Warriors teams, one where Chris Paul is on the floor and one where he's off. And, look, Steph has to rest, 15 minutes a game, and that could be the time when Chris Paul really goes to work. And I think it could go that way, but I don't think you're going to see an integrated Chris Paul flowing up the floor, playing with the Warriors of old. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm not expecting that.
And it feels like it happened a while ago, but the Bradley Beal addition to Phoenix, considering what Denver wasn't able to hold on to with their bench, does this make Phoenix, is that gap that much tighter? Does this put Phoenix right along with the defending champions? How does that addition change what Phoenix looks like right now?
I have noticed there's a decent amount of Suns fans in Omaha. Because,
yes, there is.
I think there's a lot of people who spend a lot of time in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area.
Yeah, I wonder why.
In the non-summer months. The thing about Phoenix is, again, this is a classic basketball situation. Do you basically build out your team with depth, or do you try to have a top-heavy roster that just wins with a few star players? And there are examples that both ways work. The Nuggets are a team that is really nicely balanced out, and they just vanquished the league. And so the Suns are trying to go with sort of the Miami Heat model that worked, a decade ago, which was 3 star players who are overwhelmingly talented, especially offensively, that just can overwhelm the league. The Heat ended up doing that. The Suns were they traded so much for Kevin Durant. I mean, the Kevin Durant trade is truly an amazing trade for what they gave up. By the way, 2 of the players that they gave up are playing for Team USA in the World Cup this summer. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. They both have $100 million contracts. They're both really good players. and they gave up 4 first-round picks. So really, they were kind of like, it was almost, if you think like a poker game, they had already pushed like 90% of their chips in the middle, 80% of their chips in the middle. You have to stay in the hand. So when you see this opportunity to get Bradley Beal, you're like, okay, well, we could try to hold on to what we have to try to build out a little bit more, or we could protect the 80% of the chips that we have in the middle and put the rest of them in. So they literally traded everything else they were allowed to trade. When the Bradley Beal was over, when the trade was over, there was literally not one trade piece that they could give legally in the NBA rules to trade for anybody.
Wow.
And so they have gone totally all in on this, and they have basically filled the roster out with guys who make the minimum salary. It is essentially those 3, DeAndre Ayton, and minimum players. And some of these minimum players, by the way, the minimum is $3 million in the NBA. It's not chopped liver.
Yeah.
And some of these players you look at and you're like, hey, that actually might work. That guy might actually fit well. But these guys are minimum players for a reason. There's a reason that nobody is paying them a bunch of salary. And if you look at like the Denver team, they're really built out with a lot more overall roster depth. So it's an experiment, and it's either going to work or it's going to explode in their face. And I think it's going to be fascinating to watch, quite frankly.
All right, now we get to the most important part of why we brought you on here. Let's talk about your beloved Buckeyes. So Ryan Day is 31-0 against everybody in the conference not named Michigan. How are we feeling going into this season?
Not great, Bob. A lot of people in Columbus are wondering, like, if he has another one of these seasons. And by the way, they were a field goal away from winning the national title last year.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's enough, even in Ohio. I got to say to you guys, like, there's so much. The Michigan game means so much, and I have to say that, like, I don't think people at Ohio State have appropriately dealt with the reality that they were a field goal away from winning the national title, because they would have stopped TCU. I think that's clear.
Yeah.
And had they executed better on that last drive, also Marvin Harrison was injured on a spearing play, an absolutely ridiculous play. I was furious that my co-workers at ESPN, Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, kind of like, in the game, were just like, oh, that's too bad. Yeah, he's going to be out. I'm like, excuse me? Like, do you know that there was just an illegal play made where a guy should have been ejected and our best player is out for the game? Like, the amount of things that happened late in that game, I don't think has appropriately been digested. I don't know. I suspect I know why. It's because it was literally happening at midnight on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And I just think that the world was not paying attention as they should have been. But that was you fight for 15, 20 years at Ohio State to have a chance that close to the national championship, and it slipped through their fingers in a miserable way. And, you'd have forgotten about Michigan. But I'm telling you, if Ryan Day, who was a field goal away from winning the national championship, if he loses to Michigan this year, he's probably going to get fired.
Wow.
And that's what's before him. And they got 2 problems. Number one, they're going to have a brand new quarterback, which it's hard to win at the highest level with a first-year quarterback. The Ohio State's had tremendous quarterback play for the last decade, and the way things have fallen, they've always had a terrific guy to turn to. They don't have that. It's not even 100% clear who their quarterback is going to be. I would bet on this guy, Kyle McCord. He is not an unquestioned 5-star player like C.J. Stroud was. And they're replacing their whole offensive line. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I think from Ohio State's standpoint, for national championship purposes, the week 4 of the season, they play at Notre Dame. They have 3 weeks of non-conference. Actually, they open at Indiana, which I hate playing conference games out of the gate. I'm sure Nebraska fans do too, especially in Ireland. But I hate playing conference games out of the gate. But they have 3 weeks to prepare for Notre Dame in week 4 to get that offensive line and the quarterback to a place where you feel like you can win a big road game. And then you also, this is, an odd year. So that means you play at Ann Arbor. And, the way it works at Ohio State, in even years, they play Penn State on the road and Michigan at home. In odd years, Penn State at home, Michigan on the road. Most of the time, the Big Ten comes down to those two games. Obviously, there's some years where things happen where it doesn't, or Michigan takes some early losses. Most of the time, it comes down to that. Or there's certainly that division in the Big Ten, which ultimately usually has a big say in how the championship goes. So it'll be those games, and I don't feel great, and it's okay. You have to reload at some point, but you can't have a Heisman candidate quarterback every single season. But the pressure on this season to get it done against Michigan and their quarterback is a real problem. Ohio State they were not prepared to deal with him. He is a spectacular player, and they'll probably freaking play there for 4 years. And he is going to be a real problem for them in the short-term future.
Wendy, you are fired up, and I love it, my man. I love it.
My friend, you're welcome anytime to talk college football.
Well, I am mildly concerned about Matt Rule creating a problem here, because we don't need more problems in the Big Ten because we're importing, But I want Nebraska to do well because I want everybody around me to be in a good mood. It's been a rough 8 years since I moved here.
It has.
You're great. I appreciate the time. Now go back to work.
Take care, guys. Have a good day.
That's Brian Windhorst from ESPN. Come for the NBA free agency talk and stay for a passionate plea about Ohio State football.
I hope people appreciate that, by the way. I hope they appreciate it, because there's times before where we've talked to him and he's like, yeah, I can give you a little on college football, but, I'm not really into it right now. That was as good of a Ohio State breakdown / rant that you're ever going to hear from him.
So for people that don't know the backstory, so of course Wendy is from Akron, Ohio, and his connection to LeBron, covered LeBron, got moved to Miami, then to Cleveland, now on more of the national.
Yep.
I didn't follow him to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But his wife is from here.
Yeah, West Side.
Yeah,
and
so he has lived in the area in Northwest Omaha for about 8 years. I remember the first time somebody said, "Did you know Brian Windhorst is at the Hy-Vee on Maple?" And I was like, "Yeah, he lives here."
Yeah. It freaks people out. They don't understand it.
Oh, I thought he was just like in town visiting.
Yeah.
I asked you if that for real?
Yeah. So he makes his home here in Omaha and loves his Buckeyes. He's right. There is no other game in college football that is as big as the game this year because of everything that is on the line.
Yeah.
Can Harbaugh do it? Michigan's trying to get back to the playoff again as one of the favorites to win the national title. And then, there's Ryan Day. He's 31-0 against everybody else in the Big Ten, not named Michigan.
They could go 11-1 and he gets fired.
And he's on a hot seat.
And if he loses 3 straight, and this time with that game on the 25th of November, which is the greatest day on the calendar of any day, and he loses that game, then people are there's going to be a lot of discussion going on. Can't wait. There is
first world problems for Ohio State.
That's the game of the year in college football. That has the most meaningful game. And I don't think there's anything that could push him off being number one. So they can make a candidate for a couple of 2s and 3s. That'll be up on the radio replay page if you missed it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Maybe Wendy will call back when Phil Steele is on. He will join us coming up at
I hope he would.
9. Let's get in a quick update here with Jimmy.
Yeah, we just have him on here for the overreaction shows and whatnot. Devin Hurdle becomes the latest Omaha Maverick to go pro after signing with the Texas Rangers as a free agent. The 2022 first-team All-Summit shortstop had a breakout season, batting .373 with 5 home runs, 29 RBIs, and 25 runs scored. He also had 22 multi-hit games this year, including a stretch of 6 in a row back in April. In his Omaha career, he racked up 62 RBIs and 20 doubles while posting a .292 batting average. He joined second-round draft pick Mike Bovee as the second Maverick to sign with a professional team this week. The Major League Baseball Players Association would like the league to soften the pitch timer rule as the season approaches the playoffs. But of course, Rob Manfred is leaning towards keeping the current one in place. Tony Clark, the executive director of the MLBPA, says, "I don't think there are too many folks that want to have a new rule affect a game and a pennant chaser in the playoffs. There are adjustments that can be beneficial. Soon after Clark spoke with reporters on the subject, Manfred was asked if there was a chance that MLB would tweak the current rules, which allow for 15 seconds between pitches when the bases are empty and 20 when runners are on. Players aren't suggesting getting rid of the clock entirely, just tweaking it enough to provide extra time, especially in those high leverage moments. That includes potentially adding seconds to the clock, approving extra timeouts or disengagements, or any number of ideas, which Clark said would give players a chance to breathe. He said, considering you just played a 162 game season with a pitch clock, nobody's looking to play 3.5 to 4 hour games. He says, I don't think a few seconds here or there are going to create 3.5 to 4 hour games. According to league data, pitch clock violations have decreased over time this season, but Manfred admits it could impact an important game in October.
It all adds up.
Could. It's going to. Pat Fitzgerald's attorney says Northwestern fired him for cause, setting up a potential legal showdown. Attorney Dan Webb said he communicated with Northwestern's general counsel, who informed him of the for-cause termination for Fitzgerald, who led the team since 2006 and as a former two-time National Defensive Player of the Year at the school. University President Michael Schill fired Fitzgerald Monday afternoon, citing a partially broken team culture following an investigation into hazing within the program. Webb is researching legal strategies and has not filed a lawsuit as of yet, but he cited 2 different major breach of contract claims with Northwestern, as well as significant reputational damage. Northwestern has not informed Webb whether it is seeking to withhold the remaining salary on Fitz's 10-year contract. He's owed more than $40 million from the school.
The stuff that was alleged or at least investigated through one initial complaint and then the additional 10. And with the story about the baseball program, who at Northwestern is qualified to hire the next football coach?
None.
Thank you.
None. It's a blank show.
Just putting it mildly.
For a place that maybe I'm crazy to think this, I just sort of expect them to be on top of everything, whether we're talking mainly the academia side, but also the athletic side, because the standards when it comes to overall success aren't as, I would say, as high or competitive. There's not that pressure, that built-in pressure, because you have this rabid fan base and everything. I just expect them to, let's say, I expect them to be better. And that's not saying I disagree with the decision to remove Pat Fitzgerald, but the way they got to that conclusion, fumbling around, and then with what is being reported on the baseball side of it, where you can't even get a meeting with the athletic director when you're a coach, when you're an assistant coach, and you have firsthand knowledge of what may be going on and what may not be appropriate. It's an absolute blank show.
Yeah, there's some shifting winds in Evanston. There's some people that are like, whoa. What is being reported here? That's why you need transparency. They need to release the report sooner than later, because people are thinking that Fitz, especially when the rest of the staff, nobody is dismissed, and yet some of them were alleged to have direct involvement and knowledge. We're going to be this again. It's going to get uglier in Evanston, but they need transparency. Redact a name or 2 or 11, but you've got to release a report, because this yesterday, retaining the entire staff, and the only case you really make is, well, we don't want the team to fall apart, and we only have 3 weeks. But yet some guys on that staff were implicated. All or nothing.
Right.
Like you said yesterday, when you hire an attorney that is billing $1,400 an hour, there's a reason. It's because the guy wins.
Well, I was surprised. So the agreement, Fitz never got it on paper. It was an oral agreement about the 2-week unpaid suspension.
But in the state of Illinois, that is a binding agreement.
The more you know. Finally, just get really weird here. Finally, Mavericks guard Kyrie Irving has partnered with the Chinese sports brand Anta on a new shoe deal. In a release, Anta said that Irving's signature shoes and lifestyle footwear will be unveiled early next year. Anta also said that Irving will serve as the brand's chief creative officer. The agreement comes after Irving and Nike ended their partnership last December. I had to reread that to make sure I was reading it correctly. Move over, big baller brand. There's a new player in town.
Yeah. I wonder how they're pricing their product out compared to Big Baller.
You
think you get slides for $225? Big Baller. Could you still get that?
Whatever this is, you guys are burying the question. The biggest question about his involvement with this company. Does he fly east or west to get to China?
Well, I mean, he says the Earth is flat, so
Legit question. I want to know.
From Dallas, I'll say west.
West, yeah.
Barely.
Or does he say you dig a hole and go down?
Yeah, but actually, no, you're right. That's probably what it is. They say
That's what Bugs Bunny did one time.
They say if you dig far enough, you might get to China, and that might be true.
Actually, they did that on Tiny Toons.
They actually did in my house when I was a kid that I got reprimanded. If you keep digging,
you're gonna.
Doogie Clint says he flies south.
Oh.
It's a legitimate question. When you're a flat earther,
yeah,
and you're going to China, are you flying east, west, south? Are you digging and going straight down?
I think you're digging.
Okay.
Got to dig.
Yeah, because I think you really do believe that you can dig far enough to get to China.
It's a fair question. Kids, you got a couple of weeks to practice that when you're in your geography class in school, and you can ask that question and really confuse the teacher.
Yeah, these are the questions that need answers.
And probably get a call to your parents.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, you raised a flat earther.
Yep. But he's vaccinated. What?
All right, 34 past the hour. Thanks.
Oh,
Jimmy.
Oh. I'm
not 2020 anymore.
I'm not doing that.
2023.
I'm not doing that.
Phil Steele, Brandon Vogel, still to come on a good edition on a Wednesday, rainy Wednesday. Now clearing up. It just has the feel that it's going to be 95 with 100% humidity today after the storm rolled
Love
through
it.
here. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
So he missed the All-Star game in 1945 because of the war. And then in 46, Ted Williams came back and he was like, baseball's back, baby.
He sent out a 2-word fax.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Oh, wait. This just in. Breaking news. Ted Williams has sent out a Western Union. Stop. I'm back. Stop.
Thank you, 1940s, man.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Strong storms likely Wednesday morning, mainly before 9 a.m. in the metro with damaging wind gusts and heavy rain potential. Scattered storms will stick around through the lunch hour, then trending drier in the afternoon with some more sunshine, highs in the mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We're still getting reports of that accident along North 33rd Street at Paxton Boulevard and reports of that accident that has 2 left lanes blocked northbound along the JFK at F Street, so please be cautious if you're in those areas. Then on L Street, be prepared for a little bit of a delay from 108th to 96th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Lanahaw Nurseries.
No better time than now to focus on your garden or landscape. Come shop Lanahaw's Garden Center, filled with the area's best quality plants, flowers, and trees. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
It's all too obvious. We're being distracted by meaningless news headlines. When you dig to find the truth, you discover that the American way of life is being threatened by the institutions we used to trust. It's easy to see the future holds more food shortages, systematic controls, and government overreach. But instead of throwing up their hands, folks are preparing. They're taking steps to be self-reliant and investing in emergency food storage. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, makes it easy to get started and join the ranks with this limited-time offer. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and get their top-selling 4-week emergency food kit. Enjoy tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get new lower pricing this week on these 4-week emergency food kits. Secure at least one food kit for each member of your family. They ship free, too. Those who know what's coming are preparing. Smart folks. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. mypatriotsupply.com.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
Katie was recently told by a competitor that her transmission needed to be replaced. She thought the cost seemed a little too high, so she called us. We towed it from that shop and verified the transmission was in fact bad. We did the job and saved her over $1,500. Sometimes a second opinion can save you a lot of money. Don't overpay. Call Omaha Transmission.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Parents, are you tired of helping put your kids' shoes on? They're squirming, watching cartoons, anything but helping. Luckily, it's Skechers. Footwear you can just get your kids to step into and their shoes are on. You don't need to bend over. You don't need to sit on the floor and try to wrangle them on. And they're available in all types of Skechers styles with and without laces, and most are machine washable. Find Skechers slip-ins for kids or mom and dad at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Now back up mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone has your final chance to win tickets to Chris Stapleton. 1 week from tonight, he brings the All-American Roadshow tour to the Chai. Get entered to win a pair of tickets to the show now at 1620thezone.com.
All right, 40 past the hour. 20 minutes away from Phil Steele last night, Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Fox having the drone, I thought was pretty cool, having players mic'd up. They got 10K to be mic'd up. They were good conversation. I like the access, especially the pitcher and the hitter. Did not like the uniforms.
Nope.
I apologize again to the people at IHOP, but they stole your idea.
Did you notice, by the way, which has been a big story, obviously, over the past couple of days with Northwestern, the National League logo on the helmets? If you just put in the Wildcat, it looked exactly like Northwestern. I don't know if anybody caught that.
They reminded me of Little League, like the Little League World Series. That's not good.
No,
so it's a Nike
very
deal.
basic.
So 3 years ago when Nike took over baseball uniforms, they put into an agreement that they would design the All-Star Game uniforms, and they would do it city-specific. So the color scheme was a little bit of what you would think when you're Seattle. They need to go back to team uniforms.
Yep.
They also messed up yesterday. So I would have waited to announce the Mariners at the end. Like I like when they're on the foul lines and they announce them. The camera guy goes individual, but they do the red carpet now. I get it.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
Yeah,
but they should have waited for the Mariners and done them last so they could get the standing ovation because through that, you know what they missed? They didn't announce the Tampa Bay Rays.
They didn't?
Nope. They focused on now in the stadium. They announced them.
Yeah.
But Fox, Fox
Fox
did not have the Rays guys on TV because they were focused on the Mariners.
In the life of a Tampa Bay Ray.
Well, now that we're on this, let's just get into the deep part of the Fox broadcast.
At least they got rid of the NFL theme for the games. That's all I got.
You know what? I thought they would have more Seattle-based music.
Yeah. They were weak in the pre.
That's a good call.
Pre-game, they had a little bit, but
That
they
is
really
a missed opportunity there.
You got Pearl Jam, you got some Soundgarden, you got no Alice in Chains, which is just an atrocity.
You can't have the two without the third. When I think of the main influences, and obviously
Jimi
Nirvana,
Hendrix,
Nirvana would be in there too. But some of your core influencers of the Seattle grunge scene.
Mudhoney.
Yep, Mudhoney. Didn't they have an appearance in Black Sheep?
I mean,
yes.
They should have dropped in Smells Like Teen Spirit. I mean, you could have dropped in some Cobain. Foo Fighters are from Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought they'd have a little bit more because Fox is usually pretty good at doing the local music scene. Here's what they're not good at. And again, I don't know about you guys. I don't know what your fetishes are, what your enjoyment is, but having something slammed down your throat. I
No.
prefer not to have that.
I believe that
I
would
get
not
it.
go well for me
Some
either.
are into that. I
Okay.
understand.
Doesn't appeal to me.
So
no.
whether it be in the media business, whether it be in your sports teams or your opinions or whatever, having something forced on you is not good. It's actually against the law.
That's true.
So it should be against the law
Get you canceled.
to have A-Rod, Jeter, and Big Papi forced on us, because I'm finding it hard in the sport of baseball on a pregame collection of individuals, more boring guys together than those three.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin Burkhardt is very, very good.
Yes, he is.
He's exceptional. But those three together, my God, I have trouble sleeping. I only sleep like 4 hours a night. I should just have on a reel a repeat of those three. I'd sleep like a baby. I'd be doing my 8 to 10 hours.
I
nodding
totally
off on the couch during
forgot about a moment in the broadcast that I was thinking to myself, really? And that was, well, we got some guy. If you're in these seats over here, you must be pretty important. And we've got our analysts down there, and you had Papi, A-Rod, Jeter, and Burkhardt. And it was essentially, yes, it was A-Rod and Papi just devouring popcorn, saying nothing but how great the weather was. Alex Rodriguez feeling nostalgia because that's where he got to start. And Papi talking about how he hasn't sweat yet because the weather is so good. And then Jeter kind of trying to bust their chops, but didn't really do a great job of it by saying, well, now that we got the weather report, you're right. And that part
I've
of
left
the
some
broadcast,
baseballs on nightstands in this town.
it was the most unnecessary thing. And they I don't even know if they knew when to talk or what they should talk about.
I forgot Kevin was there.
Well, and then that happened during the home run that was overturned.
Yep.
It was so weird. And you're right. That's the best way to put it. It was so forced on the audience of, hey, by the way, these are our pre and post game analysts. And here they are in the stadium with front row seats eating popcorn. Now, if that isn't the everyday fan right there, it was
Should have had some grasshoppers.
It was just so hokey, cheesy, and yes, forceful. Yes.
I mean, A-Rod is so fake to begin with.
Well, yeah.
And then Jeter is very uncomfortable. But Jeter doesn't have that kind of personality. Now, Big Papi is playing the role of Big Papi.
Yep.
And well, I might add.
But the combination of the guy to his left and his right is not very good. I still have a hard time. Jeter and A-Rod together is really, really awkward.
I feel like they were separated for a reason.
But Frank Thomas was okay. Pete Rose would just say whatever, and he was like your drunken uncle that, happened to have 4,256 hits in his major league career.
Mm-hmm.
But that trio, and they have some star power. I mean, they've got a place in the game. I just think they're boring together.
Agreed.
And Fox tries to force it on us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you saw during the pregame. It was early in the pregame, and we had it on because nothing else on. A-Rod started talking about how he was at the T-Mobile party the night before, and he said it was bumping, but it was said like he was reading it off a script. To which Jeter replies, also very canned, "Oh, imagine that. You were at a party." And I was like, is this for real? This is...
Right. That was like the Jeter responses to where, again, he's trying to like bust chops or be like kind of humorous. It feels like he's forcing that.
So the thing with Jeter is he doesn't have a natural sense of humor. So he's trying to force his laughter.
Yes.
I mean,
it's exactly how it comes across.
Jump to conclusions.
You got two guys that are a little bit fake. Okay.
Right.
And that's really, really tough.
And then you got Papi, who's Papi, who I think would be just fine with the right surroundings.
I get some inside the NBA vibes with him when he gets on one by himself.
I can't believe I didn't even think of that earlier when we were talking about the broadcast of that little stretch of the game where you had those guys sitting behind.
It's a talk show with a little baseball game.
And it wasn't even a good one.
I don't know.
It wasn't even good.
I don't know. A-Rod said that the Angels should trade Ohtani and Trout, and then Jeter doubled down and said, well, I think the Yankees should just go up and pick up Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm. Those are all moves that are very realistic too.
Larger contract. Joe Burrow per year or Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, damn, that's tougher than I.
So I'm hearing Ohtani is going to be about 500 to 600 million.
Yeah. Right.
There's I listened to
50, 60 a year.
I was listening to a pretty good discussion about the Bengals because and the Bengals and the Chiefs are now connected.
Yep. Always will be.
There are reports in Cincinnati that Burrow's deal could be anywhere from 45 to 60 million a year and could be in the range of eating up about 28% of their cap. Now, before you go like you're doing it, let me give you some facts here. Remember, the cap is going up in the NFL. So it's a hit, but it's not like if you were doing the deal like last year or the year before.
Yeah.
But who has a larger per year contract moving forward? Joe Burrow's deal or Shohei Ohtani?
I'm going to go Burrow just by a little bit.
I mean, Burrow could be $60 million a year.
I think Shohei will be in the 50 to 55 range. They'll both be well-to-do.
Just because I always feel like we're probably used to it now. I'm gonna still say Shohei gets him by a little bit, because that also, the Major League Baseball in the right market spares no expense. The NFL, the popularity obviously is much greater than the Major League Baseball product, but there's still, even with a cap that is elevated, it's still a cap compared to what Major League Baseball deals with. So Shohei, I think there are going to, I'll say Shohei, not by much, but I think Shohei Ohtani will turn out to still make more annually.
And then the other question will be, I don't know why anybody would trade for Ohtani now. I would wait, and then I'd sign him in the offseason because he can stay in Los Angeles. But part of the deal last night with come to Seattle, and great by the Mariner fans.
Yeah.
And they had a good back-to-back days. I mean, the home run derby was good. The All-Star game was good.
Apparently the weather was good.
Is the thing about Ohtani is people with the Mets said, oh, he'll come to New York because of Senga.
Yeah.
Well, they hardly ever have talked. Well, just because they're both Japanese?
Right. Just assume that.
It's like every time someone asks, hey, someone went to KU. Do you know him? Yes, all 30,000. I knew them all.
Would Ohtani want to go to Seattle?
I wouldn't rule it out.
Remember we talked about the Japanese population?
But isn't the Ichiro stamp already on Seattle?
Yep.
Yeah. And you could argue that he doesn't want to follow in Ichiro's footsteps because that's his town, so he'd go do his own thing.
Are you doing that because you don't want to follow or, be compared, or are you doing that out of respect?
No, out of respect.
Okay.
Totally out of respect.
Because Shohei strikes me as a guy who would think of something like that.
No, it's like,
because he's going to get money wherever he goes. There are going to be markets that I think he will be comfortable in.
I mean, he'll listen, but out of respect.
I'm kind of there with you.
Unless Ichiro were to meet him, it's like, no, do this. This is.
I'm sure there's a handful of fan bases that have convinced themselves that Ohtani is playing for him next year.
Yeah.
Except the Royals.
The only one that should convince themselves and be right is going to be the Dodgers. So the Dodgers get a third crack at Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to let him get away this time. I would be really, really surprised if Ohtani is not wearing Dodger blue next year. They can afford him. It's still Los Angeles. It's even bigger than the Angels. They have tried twice and they missed. I don't think they miss a third time on him.
How much do you want?
Yeah.
I'm asking
well, they can
how
afford
much
him and they're not
want?
going to blink. They're not going to blink.
Exactly.
Name a number. The answer is yes.
And maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad for baseball. I mean, you'd like him in a smaller market, but you know what? He's been in a large market, but with a small impact.
Yeah.
Now you could go and play for the Dodgers. But that's why, I mean, I'm hesitant to think about Seattle. It would make sense in terms of a Asian population, but Ichiro is Seattle.
Yeah, that's and
Ohtani is. I think there is, as Jimmy alluded to, I think there's the part of the respect.
Yep.
Ichiro has a stamp on Seattle. Now, maybe it could be, you know what? I adore Ichiro. I would like to do the same thing that he did, and how great a career he had in Seattle, and how welcoming he was, and how he is still attached to the Mariners organization.
Yeah, like if he's openly like recruiting him then all of a sudden that does kind of change it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you are also killing my thoughts that the Dolans would actually pull out some money, maybe a Cleveland Guardian.
I think there could be 20 fan bases that are going to convince themselves that they're going to get Ohtani.
I'm not one of them. I know where Cleveland is finishing in that race.
I'm not convinced the Cubs, even though the Cubs would be a realistic player.
Yeah, they can be competitive, but they're not going to. I think that the Dodgers make the most sense, and I think a lot of people would. There is a little bit of that New York market where people look at the Mets and say, but the Seattle part of it, I think, would be interesting, considering on where Ichiro is. If Ichiro is, there's open dialogue there of like trying to recruit him, because I think that could be a very good possibility, but it almost makes too much sense for the Dodgers.
Was glad to see last night they had for the opening pitch. Of course, Ken Griffey Jr. is the face of Seattle and should be the face of Seattle, is the guy they traded for Ken Phelps.
He looks good.
Our childhood was out. That's like,
Buhner looks like he could still whoop some ass.
Yeah, Jay Buhner has looked good.
Yeah.
He got kind of the same look as well.
He does.
Wow.
He's a little more lean now.
All right, Phil Steele has the same look. He's got a little cookie duster, and he's got a 352-page magazine that has been out. The Bible is out. Phil Steele jumps on 1620 coming up in a bit.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Smith for Ted and Wally's Ice Cream, ultra premium ice cream. Of course, you can find it in the old market and in Benson as well, right next to Taste of New Orleans. One of the great things about Ted and Wally's is they work with local artisans. We're talking producers, farmers, and chefs to make sure they make the best ice cream for you. Over 3,000 unique flavors over 35 years. Ted and Wally's has ice cream for you. Call ahead, get yourself a half a gallon or maybe a quart so you have it at the house when you need some ice cream. And when you need ice cream, almost every single day. Swing by Ted and Wally's, whether it's in the old market, the original location, or in Benson, and grab yourself one of 3,000 flavors. And another thing about Ted and Wally's is they have keto-friendly ice cream. You're looking for an ice cream that's low fat? They have that as well. Whatever you're looking for when it comes to ice cream, they have a variety for you, including one of my favorites, just the plain old vanilla. Check out Ted and Wally's 2 locations in the old market and in Benson. And when you go, tell them Severe sent you.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
There's a right way and a wrong way to fight off mosquitoes. Karate chopping the air, in a public place, in front of your kids and their friends, Mom, is the wrong way. Using Stem mosquito repellent is the right way. Stem effectively repels mosquitoes by harnessing active ingredients found in plants like lemongrass and peppermint, making it safe for use as directed around people and pets. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science, and embarrassment-free.
Businesses of Omaha, settling for a website that looks like it's stuck in the early 2000s? Then it's time to level up with JM Online. Our local team builds custom websites that solve unique business needs. We're not your typical web design company. We're your partners in online success. Ready to take your website to the next level? Go to jmonline.com and request an initial call.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We're still getting reports of that accident along North 33rd Street at Paxton Boulevard and reports of that accident that has 2 left lanes blocked northbound along the JFK at F Street, so please be cautious if you're in those areas. Then on L Street, be prepared for a little bit of a delay from 108th to 96th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Backlund Plumbing.
Backlund Plumbing is the most referred plumber in town, and that's because of our professional plumbers. If you'd like to join the Backlund Plumbing team, go to backlundplumbing.com.
Backlund Plumbing, the most referred plumber in town.
No matter how dark it gets, there's always a sunrise, a warm bed, a warm meal, and hope. Sienna Francis House serves hope to those experiencing homelessness and addiction. Every day, we provide more than 1,000 meals and serve nearly 500 guests in our emergency shelter, Miracles Recovery Program, and supportive housing apartments. and help our guests navigate a path to permanent housing. Learn more at siennafrancis.org.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. It is July, which means the countdown is on for the 6th annual 4-person Golf Flash Scramble. Go to their website today, miraclehillgolf.com/store, and get signed up. You do not want to miss it. Coming up Friday, August the 4th, it'll be a one-beer Friday, 12 o'clock shotgun start, only $320 per team. Again, sign up today at that website, miraclehillgolf.com.
Take your science or healthcare degree to the next level at College of St. Mary and apply to one of our in-demand graduate programs. Earn a Doctor of Physical Therapy with our online on-campus hybrid program. Earn a Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies in just 2 years, or an Occupational Therapy Doctorate in 3 years. Graduate programs at CSM are inclusive and open to everyone. Plus, we offer an accelerated pathway to several of our healthcare programs for those needing their undergraduate degree. Apply today. Get started at csm.edu.
Switch to Cox Mobile and instantly save $200 on a new iPhone 14. So whether you're keeping up with your book club,
It all began in Manchester.
or sharing your latest recipe, you've got a plan that fits you based on the data you need. Switch today and instantly save $200 on a new iPhone 14 featuring the most impressive dual camera system on iPhone. The new Cox Mobile. We're different because you're different. Limited time offer for existing and new Cox Mobile lines. Prices exclude taxes and device activation. Other fees and charges are subject to change. Other terms and conditions apply. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Sponsored by DHHS and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
There's a right way and a wrong way to fight off mosquitoes. Karate chopping the air, in a public place, in front of your kids, and their friends, Mom, is the wrong way. Using STEM mosquito repellent is the right way. STEM effectively repels mosquitoes by harnessing active ingredients found in plants like lemongrass and peppermint, making it safe for use as directed around people and pets. STEM, rooted in nature, optimized by science, and embarrassment-free.
The cigar enthusiasts at Hearth Cigars and Pipes are a pretty diverse bunch of humans. Some enjoy an adult beverage or two, others pass the time with a competitive yet friendly game of dominoes. Still others enjoy shooting some pool downstairs, while more than a few are just satisfied with each other's company. The common thread with all of them is the awesomeness that is their favorite cigar from the humidor. Hearth Cigars and Pipes, just off the 48th Street exit from I-680 at the corner of Mormon Bridge Road and McKinley, and at hearthcigars.com.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620, The Zone.
All right, football season kind of officially begins today in Arlington. Big 12 Media Days start. 2 weeks from today, Big 10 Media Days, practice starts, and we're less than 50 days away. That means we welcome in our good friend, Debt Taxes and Phil Steele's Bible being out for the 29th year. It is Phil Steele. He joins us now. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. Hey, I don't want to take up much of your time, so we're going to start here. I'd like to start on page 113. If you will turn to page 113, we'll talk about the Florida State Seminoles. But kudos to you and your staff. I know this is a huge undertaking, another fantastic edition that is available widely here in Omaha at the Barnes & Nobles. And for all the people that got the digital subscription, people are raving again. So kudos to you and your staff.
I appreciate it. We pour 7 months of work into this thing each and every year, and it's all we work on during the 7 months. We don't care about basketball, hockey, NFL, just college football, and so there's a lot of sweat involved in this one, but appreciate that.
Yeah, Phil, I think I asked you this last year, and I'm curious if it even changed more so this year, of how long you have to wait to kind of really get a feel for these rosters now with the transfer portal and now having those windows that exist in college football, and how for someone who does what you do and so well and puts so much into it, how that continues to kind of change the timeline.
Yeah, it throws things off a little bit, especially during the process. I used to go to the press probably back 10 years ago, maybe the middle of May. And what we do now is we go to the press June 7th. The portal closed on May 15th. Yeah. And then I left a 3-week window for all the players to get signed. And, if they're big names and they're hit the portal, they're probably going to sign within that stretch. So we were able to capture the majority of them. We didn't go to the press until June 7th this year. And I gave all the coaches I talked to my cell phone number. I said, look, contact me if you sign anybody before June 7th. I was getting texts and calls on June 6th. Hey, we got this guy. We're changing pages on the last day of the magazine just to get these players on the page. So it makes it a little bit more hectic during this time, but at least we were able to get everybody in.
Hey, let's start. And Luke Reimer is on the regional cover that people are finding here in Omaha. Let's start with Nebraska. And we've talked about this every year we have you on. We talk about, what your thoughts were on Scott Frost and where Nebraska was going, and you document it once again in your Nebraska preview. But I think your sentiment about the 23 Nebraska roster in terms of the unit rankings and just the overall outlook is very familiar and very, I should say, similar to what people feel around here. And we know that there's areas to be fixed, but you're talking about down the road. Would you agree, as you started to get into your Nebraska preview and Matt Rule and what Matt Rule might bring to Nebraska? Matt Rule, I've heard this phrase used, Phil. Matt Rule was hired for year 3 and 4, not for year number 1.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And I think, first of all, there is a large improvement in the coaching. I mean, Matt Rule is one of the best out there. And you go back to what he did at Temple. When he took over Temple, they went, I think, 2 wins their first year. Then all of a sudden he had them comparing at the top. And Baylor, remember when he took that Baylor head coaching job? Everybody's like, why are you taking Baylor? They have so much off-field stuff. That program's going to be horrible for years. And he comes in there the first year and goes 1-11 the first year, then 7-6, and all of a sudden 10-1, number 8 in the country, did things that you wouldn't even think he could do. And when you look at the roster, I mean, the roster's not bad, but I think Nebraska fans want to compete and contend for the Big Ten West title. I don't know if they're there yet this year. I don't think they are. But I do think they're going to be capable of getting to a bowl game this year, which is a nice start and a better start than what Matt Rule had at either Temple or Baylor.
And Phil, engaging that, and this is, again, kind of going back to the transfer element of it, when gauging a new head coach at any place, when you do this every year, not only their reputation and ability to develop sort of the traditional roster and guys that are coming in from high school and maybe some of the younger players that they inherit, but also having a reputation to develop some transfers, whether we're talking about underclassmen or upperclassmen, where maybe I'm wrong here, but the jury's obviously probably still out on Matt Rule when it comes to that, considering that when we really saw the transfer portal pick up, he was spending time in the NFL. So is that part of sort of the unknown, maybe in these first couple of years, of how you develop that roster?
Yeah, I would say that is a little bit of an unknown because, as you pointed out, when he was at Baylor, we didn't have the transfer portal wide open like it is now. But I do think that going back and looking at Matt Rule, the way he developed the players at Temple, the way he developed the players at Baylor, I'm pretty confident he's going to be able to develop whoever he brings in. And I don't think he'd bring in somebody if he wasn't confident that he could do it. A guy like Jeff Sims, for example, at the quarterback spot, I was very high on him at Georgia Tech. I thought that he was got a lot of potential. And I think Matt Rule should be able to get the most out of that potential out of him. And then, like a Ben Scott coming in at center. He's a guy that's started full-time starter at Arizona State each of the last 2 years. I think he's going to step in and be maybe contending for all conference honors this year.
So Phil Steele, who joins us now, you got Wisconsin, Iowa, good on Illinois. I think people overlook Illinois, and they have some fellas coming back and off the success of last year. And then you have Illinois, Minnesota tied for third, and Nebraska at fifth. As you look at the Luke Fickell era, Cade McNamara in Iowa City, we just mentioned Illinois, Minnesota's got to replace some pieces. In your opinion, how will the West in its last year of existence be won?
I'm going to say that there's two teams that stand out in my mind, and they are Wisconsin and Iowa. And I'll tell you this: when Fickell was hired, and I did the first write-through process of the magazine, and they said, okay, Phil Longo's coming in as the offensive coordinator. I'm like, look, you can't take Wisconsin. I mean, they win games in November because they run the football. They've got the big offensive line. They got the running game. Now you're telling me they're going to a pass offense. I'm not wild about that. But after talking to Coach Fickell and going over the squad with them, they are not going full-blown pass offense. Yes, they are going to throw the football more. But he said that it's actually going to open up holes for Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi to run through. I like Tanner Mordecai, what he did at SMU. They've got the big offensive line. And I think underrated is the fact that last year they only had 3 starters back on defense. This year they've got 8 starters back. In fact, this team goes from number 107 in my experience chart to number 20. Fickell knows what he's doing. Look what he did with Cincinnati. He got them a group of 5 team into the playoffs, the only time that's ever going to happen. And then when I looked at the schedule, I love it for Wisconsin this year. The road games are against Washington State, Purdue, Illinois, Indiana, and Minnesota, all winnable categories. The toughest 2 games are Iowa and Ohio State. They catch Ohio State the week after the Buckeyes play Penn State. I've got Wisconsin as my number 1 surprise team in the country, and I felt a lot better about them after going over the team with Coach Fickell. And then the other team that I think is really in contention, the one that early on I had them winning the West, was Iowa. Kirk Ferentz, of course, is one of the best head coaches out there. Now, last year, everybody looks at their offense, and their offense was extremely poor last year, 252 yards per game, 17.7 points per game, and they say you can't win with that offensive system. I disagree. 2 years ago, they averaged 31 points per game and had 370 yards per game. And, when Cade McNamara hit the portal, in the first 5 seconds, my first thought was, go to Iowa. Perfect fit. And guess what? He landed at Iowa. I think he's the game manager type of quarterback you need. He's more than a game manager, naturally. He's a very good, capable QB. He brought Eric All with him at the tight end spot. And, of course, Iowa is known for tight ends. They've got one of the best offensive lines in the country. It'll be after 2 inexperienced units, this one's experienced. They've got Phil Parker back on defense as the defense coordinator with 7 starters, and they have my number 2 special teams. The only thing I didn't like about Iowa, going back to Wisconsin, was the schedule. They have to play Wisconsin on the road. They have to play Penn State on the road, and that's why I have them coming in number 2. Yeah. But I think those 2 are the most talented teams in the West this year.
Well, and you mentioned 2 of the transfer quarterbacks I wanted to get your thoughts on out of the West with Mordecai and McNamara, but also if we touch a little bit on Sims too, but Hudson Card in sort of a transition year for Purdue as well. When you look at maybe not necessarily how they're currently trending, but who maybe has the biggest opportunity to take a huge jump this year out of those 4 that I just mentioned? I mean, are you kind of sticking with Wisconsin and maybe even Iowa, or is there something to be said about Sims or even possibly a Hudson Card?
I think Sims is going to have a pretty good year in the Matt Rule offense. They're going to utilize both his legs and his arm. He's a guy that's accurate. He's got 4.4 speed. I think he has a chance to be one of the better QBs. But of the quarterbacks that we just mentioned, I think Tanner Mordecai probably has the best year throwing the football because let's face it, the first thing you line up against Wisconsin, you got to stop the run, and now you also have to stop the pass. I think Mordecai is going to have a good year throwing the football. So of those 4, I think Mordecai is the best year as far as numbers-wise goes.
Ohio State or Michigan?
Boy, it came down to it. And you got to throw Penn State in the mix this year as well. Penn State actually has a legitimate defense. They get Michigan at home this year. They are number 5 in my power poll. I've got Ohio State number 2 in my power poll. I have Michigan number 3 in my power poll. Now, I just said that, but I picked Michigan. Well, why is that? Schedule. They get Ohio State at home. They do have to play Penn State on the road. But look at Ohio State's schedule this year. They have to play Notre Dame on the road with a young quarterback. They have to play Wisconsin on the road the week after they play Penn State, and they also have to play Michigan on the road. And, of course, Jim Harbaugh is 2-1 against Ryan Day right now. So Ohio State has the toughest schedule of the 3. Michigan's got the best schedule of the three. They have really one tough road game all year at Penn State. They do have a very soft non-conference slate with East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. And I think this is probably Jim Harbaugh's best team that he's put on the field. They go from number 66 on my experience chart all the way up to number 7. And of all the top contenders this year, they're the only one that come back with a starting quarterback. And J.J. McCarthy, I think they take the reins off him a little bit this year, let him throw downfield more. I've got Michigan winning the West, or winning the East, I should say. But it's a three-way battle with them in Ohio State and Penn State.
In previous years, the East would maybe even have an argument for 4, and I'm getting to Michigan State here for what is going to be a very important year for Mel Tucker. But also, I feel like in the climb in the East, we know they're never going to contend for the division, but a team that's always trying to get right in the thick of it, maybe challenging that third team in the Big Ten East, would be Maryland. Right now, as it stands, do you think Maryland's in a better position than what Michigan State is coming in?
I do. I think Maryland, I've got Maryland coming in 4th. I've got Michigan State coming in 5th. And when you look at Maryland, you start with Talia Tungavailoa at the quarterback spot. They've got dangerous receivers, and they add in a guy like Tyrese Chambers from FIU. They add in Caden Prather from West Virginia. And Mike Loxley's going to have that potent offense. Now, the question marks would be the offensive line. They only have one starter back on the O-line, but Coach Loxley told me he feels good about the top 8. They just need to stay healthy. And then the defensive line. And that's the area where I think they just come up short. Remember, they gave Michigan a really good game last year on the road in Ann Arbor. But if you're a little bit short at the line of scrimmage and you're going against Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, you're probably going to come up short in those games. But I've got Maryland this year going something like 7 or 8 wins. I've got Michigan State maybe not even making a bowl game. I think they lost their quarterback and their top wide receiver after the spring was over. And last year, if you remember, they were minus 110 yards per game in Big Ten play. So they had a lot of ground to make up. I think Maryland's clearly stronger than Michigan State this year.
Hey, Big 12 Media Days start today. I'm just based off your preview, I'm guessing you're all in on an Oklahoma bounce back?
Absolutely. And, going over the team with Coach Venables, the defense was unacceptable for him last year. They gave up 461 yards per game, 30 points per game. He's a defensive coach. He brought in a ton of transfers. In fact, I've got 5 of them projected to start this year. Offensively, a couple of the big blowout losses last year when Dylan Gabriel wasn't available. Gabriel's back. They're strong at the offensive line. And when you look at the schedule this year, guys, you're going to find this surprising. In Vegas right now, Oklahoma is favored in 11 of their 12 games. The only game they're not favored is the game against Texas in Dallas. But most of their toughest opponents are at home. And the road games this year, Tulsa, Cincinnati, Kansas, Oklahoma State, and BYU, all winnable. They're favored in 11 of their 12 games.
The other team that, again, defending champions, but loses a little bit, but they do bring back 2 key components in their quarterback and Will Howard and also the head coach and Chris Kleiman. Kansas State, where do you kind of put them in the group when it kind of get there towards the end of the season? I mean, are they a contender to defend?
Yeah, I think they are. I've got them coming in number 3 in the Big 12, which means they're just one step out from being in the game. And when you look at their schedule this year, they do have a tough schedule. That was probably one of the reasons that I have them down there. They actually missed 3 of the Big 12's weaker teams. And they also missed Oklahoma. And I say they missed Oklahoma, but Kleiman's 3-1 against Oklahoma. So, you look at the schedule this year, they do have to play Oklahoma State on the road. They play Texas on the road. Those are really the only 2 games I have an underdog in all year. So I think even though they lost a lot of star power, last year in the magazine, I think they had 7 all-conference guys back. This year, of those 7, only 1 is back. They lose Deuce Vaughn. But as long as Coach Kleiman's there, and as long as they got Will Howard and guys like Phillip Brooks and an outstanding offensive line, they'll be a Big 12 contender this year.
Hey, Phil, I've said this is kind of like the last dance of college football. The expanded playoffs coming. The Pac-12 is going to lose the Los Angeles market. Who knows what else is going to happen, Texas, Oklahoma to the SEC. But in the Pac-12, all of the scrutiny because they can't get a TV deal and what's going to go on there, they might have some of the best storylines of the quarterbacks that are there, the coaching that is there. But then there's USC. If people see the unit rankings on the skill positions, USC is everywhere. You love Caleb Williams, love the running backs, love the wide receivers. Elsewhere, tough to find any mention of USC. I think at linebacker, they're in the top 10. In your opinion, how does Lincoln Riley, with this group, get over the hump and get to the playoff wearing USC gear?
The first thing would be keep Caleb Williams healthy. As you remember in the Pac-12 title game, he got injured early and then hobbling around. It was a completely different USC team with him hobbling around in that game. They should have probably beaten Tulane in the bowl game. They had blew a huge lead late in that thing. I think it looked like it was locked up. But first, the main thing he's got to do is keep Williams healthy and improve the defense. And going over the squad with Coach Riley this year, they have improved the defense. You look at them up front, nose tackle, Bear Alexander from Georgia. He was my number 6 rated defensive lineman coming out of high school. He's going to have a major impact. Anthony Lucas from Texas A&M was my number 8 rated defensive lineman out of high school. So a couple of VHTs there. A guy like Mason Cobb coming in from Oklahoma State. He had 96 tackles last year. They bring in Christian Roland Wallace from Arizona at cornerback. He was one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the Pac-12. He's got NFL potential. So I think they will have a better defense this year to go along with that potent offense. If they keep Williams healthy, the defense is as improved as I think they are. There's 2 major games for them. At Notre Dame, October 14th, and at Oregon on November the 11th. But I only have a 3-point dog in each game, so they're very capable of winning those. And if they pick up those, let's say they lose one of those, but win the Pac-12, then I think they would have a shot at making the playoff this year. And they would have made the playoff last year had Caleb Williams not got injured in the Pac-12 title game, and they beat Utah.
How deep is the Pac-12 in your assessment?
6 deep. I think you can go down to UCLA, but I think there are 5 legitimate contenders this year, or 6, I should say. USC, Utah, which is powerful at the line of scrimmage. Offensive line, defensive line, that's one of the best groups of both units combined, but they play a tough schedule. They got 3 really tough road games. Oregon, remember Bo Nix was hobbled down the stretch last year. He had that ankle injury, wasn't 100% the last couple of games. They do have to play Washington on the road and Utah on the road, but they're a qualified contender. Washington, with Michael Penix back at QB, I mean, they're going to be 8-0 when they travel to face USC on November the 4th. Oregon State's my sleeper pick there. Nobody's talking about them, but they've got the best schedule. They miss a lot of the big boys. They don't play USC this year. They don't play another one of the top teams, and they're actually 12-1 at home in Reser Stadium, and they've been rebuilding Reser Stadium the last couple of years. This year, Reser Stadium full capacity, so they're going to be extremely tough at home. That's where they get all the big boys. The toughest road game is at Oregon, and that's the Civil War at the end of the year. And then UCLA. A lot of folks discounting UCLA, but if Dante Moore can thrive in his first year as starting quarterback, Chip Kelly's improved that team each and every year. So I'm going to say 6 deep in the Pac-12.
Hey, we'll get you out on this, Phil, and we appreciate your time as always. You've been doing this for a long time. It's the 29th edition that is out. None of us have seen something like Deion Sanders is trying to do in Boulder. What does he have to prove, you think, in his first year in Boulder? You have him 11th of the 12 teams in the Pac-12. In your opinion, what does he have to prove?
Well, I tell you, if he gets his team to a bowl game, we're talking something that it would be a remarkable achievement. Now, I do think a lot of coaches out there are probably going to be gunning for this game, and they have a tough schedule. They open up with at TCU, they play Nebraska at home. Even when they play Colorado State week 3, they're catching Colorado in the middle of a TCU, Nebraska, Oregon, USC thing. And I was talking to Coach Norvell at Colorado State. Those players are pumped up in the fact that the only talk in Colorado is Deion Sanders in Colorado. Nobody even talks about Colorado State. So you're going to get a very inspired Ram squad for that one. It's a brutal schedule for Colorado. They have so many players that came in after spring practice was over, and they got to try to turn this into a team. I think if he gets them to a bowl game, it'll be a remarkable accomplishment.
Oh, fantastic. Phil, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, a lot of fun talking football with you guys today. Thanks for having me on.
That's Phil Steele. Of course, the Bible is out at your Barnes & Noble.
Got mine last week.
Let's see here. I.G. Wasson says that they're sold out of all the Barnes & Nobles in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
I saw that.
Hello. Down there, you're lucky. You get the Dave Campbell Texas Football Bible, and you get the
got
Phil Steele Bible. November 4th. So we're all trying to pick weekends. Like, the schedule is unbelievable. The third Saturday in October, that weekend is absolutely jam-packed. The November 4th weekend,
not bad.
Because I was, I'm getting ready to watch the Big 12 stuff today, and they've got K-State TCU, the championship game on.
Ready.
You have K-State is at Texas that day. You have the final edition, basically, of Bedlam. And then, as he just brought up, another sneaky good game is Washington and USC. I mean, DeBoer is really, really good.
I've been a Penix Jr. fan for when he's healthy. That's always something.
Well, he's throwing to a collection of the best wide receivers in college football. I mean, they can be unbeaten when they go to the Coliseum. That's also a sneaky good weekend is November 4th. But that's a big weekend for the Big 12.
Yeah. I'll be in Ames, Iowa that day.
We're doing in Ames, Iowa.
Is that KU, Iowa State?
Is that basketball?
Oh, yeah. Most hated rival.
Doesn't was Matt Campbell tomorrow in Arlington?
Yes. Lance is today, and let's look at the schedule last night.
First name guy. What do you think you're Phil? By the way, you guys don't know this because you're new. We do play a game. The total on the coaches dropped in a 20-minute interview.
Oh,
yeah. So we're at 11. That's good. Hey, they pick up when Phil Steele calls. They pick it up. Like he told a story last year. A lot of coaches they'll talk for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, what coach? Usually, like in May when they're not on the road recruiting,
right?
He said he'll talk to coaches for like 90 minutes.
When you got clout in the business.
Yeah, Brett says the same thing. Like some of the coaches that he's starting to get to talk to, they just keep talking and talking and talking. It's pretty cool. But
I think that drops on Friday.
The number is 11. We'll talk about Iowa State tomorrow because I think there's Matt Campbell certainly is not on the hot seat.
They'll be
5 straight years of the bowl, but they went 1-8 in the conference, and he's made some changes. I think he's more on the personal hot seat to say that isn't who we are at Iowa State.
Yep.
But it is July 12th. Do you know that they have not resolved any of those suspensions for gambling over in Iowa?
Mm-hmm.
Like Keaton Anthony is done playing Iowa baseball. He signed a free agent deal yesterday, I think, with the Phillies. Remember, he was suspended at the end of the year for Iowa. Iowa State reportedly has 4 to 5 guys that are suspended. There has still been no resolution on that. We don't know who they are, whether they're a frontline guy or, the 6th-string left tackle, but that still has not been resolved.
Well, and there was reason to believe, speaking of Keaton Anthony, when I think it was when they were here at the Big Ten tournament, that he was actually starting to practice again. And they felt like, okay, he's back with them. So it sounds like it's just going to be a matter of days before he gets the go-ahead. At the very least, you would see him in the regional. He never did. He never did.
I'm buying stock in Texas Tech. It has nothing to do with the McGuire family, but Texas Tech returns 9 starters on offense. My only hesitation of going all in on Texas Tech, and they're going to be 4th in a preseason poll,
they have some dudes.
This is the anti-Nebraska thing, where one year where you have close losses, it usually comes back to the mean, and the next year you correct it.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago, Oklahoma, Baylor, and Oklahoma State in 1-score games were 16-1. Last year, the same trio of teams were 4-11. Last year, Texas Tech and TCU were a combined 10-1 in 1-score games. That's my only hesitation is that outside of the University of Nebraska football program, these things have a chance. These things usually correct themselves.
Yep.
But man, I like Texas Tech. I think as not as a favorite, but as like a surprise, off the radar. Get them now if you're getting a price on them.
Joey gets dudes.
I would go with the Red Raiders.
Real quickly, what you said about Iowa State, I think this is,
and they lost a bunch of close games as well.
Yes, they did.
If that corrects to the mean, you go from 4-8 to maybe 6-6.
Yeah, they'll be back.
Because I've been a Matt Campbell fan for a very long time. And for a guy that I do think does not need to hear about any type of outside noise of like his job security, because I would agree with you. I think he's absolutely fine. But I do think he is a dude that's okay, that I've shown what I can do. We had a little bit of a bump in the speed bump in the road. And last year when they were supposed to be a lot better than what they were, he strikes me as a guy, and you kind of alluded to this, strikes me as a guy that you don't need any type of, columns or anything written about him, about his future or being on a hot seat list or anything like that. I think that's a guy that is, I wouldn't say reinventing himself, but is going to kind of, again, have that opportunity to try to show, all right, what we are doing in Iowa State is sustainable.
Well,
and I think he's that type of coach that can sustain.
Obsessed with fixing it.
I think every coach gets at least one get out of jail free card, and that's when you make changes on your staff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you make changes on your staff, and it maybe buys you some time, or it inches you closer to the door.
Yep.
Okay. They did something at Iowa State, and their offense was really, really poor last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they went from Brock Purdy to Hunter Deckers, and they just couldn't move the ball. Like
Lost 14
every
to
time
11,
every time I watched
10-9.
Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson was not happy because they weren't able to get him the football. They just weren't able to move it. But they had a really, really good defense once again. So Matt Campbell, who on a stretch of, dude, you sent your running back and your quarterback to the NFL as draft picks the year before. Offense takes a step back. He got rid of a longtime associate of his at offensive coordinator. They got 4 new coaches on the offensive side of the ball. So did Matt Campbell, after 5 straight years of going to a bowl, then you go 4-8, 1-8 in the Big 12, cash in his get out of jail free card way too early? We're about to find out. See, I think they're about a 500 team. The expectations outside of Ames are very minimal. They're going to be 10th or 11th in the Big 12. And that's including some 4 new schools coming in that are going to have to make the jump from Group of 5 to Power 5.
And that's where I think Campbell might have a chance to do some really good work this year.
7
because of the expectations. I think that being low, and I think for a guy that typically is able to get the most out of his team, and we go back to developing, offense was a bad example last year of that, but I think there's a lot of areas of that team that you've seen that are consistently good, especially on the defensive side of the football. And so that's a team I don't expect to contend for the Big 12 or even be, in the upper tier, but that's a group, kind of like what you said, maybe a 7-win team.
Man, when they're going, they're salty.
And they're
that 3-3-5 they play, and
they're a tough team. I wouldn't even say a tough team to prepare for, but you know what you're getting out of that team. And it's usually pretty good as far as how they do go about their week, how they are prepared for each game. I think that is going to be a team to follow, not for the standpoint of, hey, can they win the Big 12, but a jump back or a bounce back year for Matt Campbell.
We talked about it last week. They lose 14-11 to Kansas. They missed 3 field goals. A couple of them were almost chip shots, and they lose 10-9 at home to K-State, where they seemed like they were constantly getting to about the 40 of K-State, and then they'd go no further. So you get 2 wins there. Now you're a 6-6 team. So now the talk this year is, well, how can you get over that hump? And
you know what is lost in last year's season of Iowa State? Remember, they were 1-8. The only team they beat was West Virginia in the conference. Remember, they beat Iowa.
Yeah.
You remember the drive? Yeah, they won that scintillating 10-7 game.
That was when Iowa's coming off of that really exciting victory over
a high-scoring game for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Now, they did suffer a key injury at running back, but I think this is on me, Matt Campbell season.
I agree.
To get back to a bowl game after going there for 5 straight. They got to keep guys healthy. I mean, once Brock went down, they were in trouble. All right, 30 past the hour. Brandon Vogel join us before we're through on a Wednesday. A good show. Brian Windhorst, Phil Steele have joined us. Brandon Vogel still to stop by on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
I just wrote a great line for Nick's song, and he's not going to use it.
It needs to fit, John. It needs to fit. Stone Cold Steve Austin got big after you were born.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't fit, as in it doesn't make sense. I just need to make sure it fits it. I have criteria. I have rules that I wrote for myself when I'm doing this.
Okay, the line is Stone Cold Beer Bash, Princess Di car crash.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Strong storms likely Wednesday morning, mainly before 9 a.m. in the metro with damaging wind gusts and heavy rain potential. Scattered storms will stick around through the lunch hour, then trending drier in the afternoon with some more sunshine, highs in the mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Same location, new name, First Class Woodhouse Service. That's the new Woodhouse Chevy Omaha, 112th and Dodge. For 50 years, it's been where Omaha goes to find new roads to their next new Chevy. Come see Woodhouse Chevy's full selection and experience the Woodhouse difference with their knowledgeable, friendly staff. Plus, there's Woodhouse.com, a place where you can do much of the car buying experience online. Summertime is the right time for your new Chevy from Woodhouse Chevy, 112th and Dodge in Omaha and I-29 exit 75 Missouri Valley. Woodhouse.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along,
Or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Does eating at home have you singing the blues? Stop by Cops at the Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, or 72nd and Jones to grab a delicious pizza, burgers, fresh salad, and some tasty charred wings. They even offer keto crusts and an extensive variety of shareable appetizers. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cops, now with 3 convenient locations to serve you. Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, and 72nd and Jones. Click copspizza.com to see the menu, pizza, and so much more.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aww. He just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Vamos a tener mucha diversión.
And that means we're going to have so much fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Head to 1620thezone.com and get entered to win a Golf Essentials bundle. Includes a golf trunk organizer, golf range finder, a magnetic golf speaker and headphones, and $150 to Topgolf. Plus, when you win a Woodhouse Wednesday prize pack, you're automatically entered to win the grand prize of $2,600. Get all the details and enter to win at 1620thezone.com.
Game time. Hey, Bob, good to see you. It's been a long time now. Hey, Bob. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, got to get on the pregame here. It's game time.
When play-by-play guys talk to each other, they talk in their play-by-play voice.
They do.
Play-by-play guy talking to Joe over here. Hey, how you doing? But then Paul, the play-by-play guy for a competing school, walks in and goes, hey, Paul, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah. All right. All right, Paul. Hey,
how's the travel in?
Hey,
good to see you.
Hey, did you get it? Did you get in the red zone? Hey, I got you. Hey, like, well, to make sure before you leave here, you come out to the parking lot. I got a trunk full of Dorothy Lynch for you. I know you've been asking about Dorothy Lynch. You know, when we were over there last year playing, you said, hey, tell me more about that Dorothy Lynch, because we don't get Dorothy Lynch in our grocery stores over here. Yeah, we don't. And then he goes back to talking to Joe on the side.
Yeah. So, hey,
Joe, wait till you see this Dorothy Lynch. The New York Jets have been selected for Hard Knocks against their wishes.
A-Rod is going to take it by storm.
They open training camp July 19th.
You need ayahuasca to enjoy it?
With Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback.
Let's go.
Let's go get a GD snack.
Yes.
Maybe they should just drop
Rex Ryan. You got to have Rex Ryan
and,
drops in there.
And Antonio Cromartie trying to remember the names of his kids.
Of all of his kids. Did Rex Ryan, during that Hard Knocks, did he have the Mark Sanchez tattoo on his? It was on his calf, right? Didn't he have a Mark? It's a Mark.
It was after.
I don't know. Rex.
It might have been after. It might have been after.
The whole thing, like his wife had a foot fetish.
No, he had a foot fetish.
Yeah, he had the foot fetish.
How do people have a foot fetish?
I don't know. I think feet are gross.
I caught a foot fetish guy once and turned him into the UNL police.
Wow.
Was he going after your feet?
No. I'll tell you the story in just a moment. But where do you, like, we all have fetishes, and that's okay.
Feet are not
We're
one.
all flawed.
Yes.
Yes.
But
discussed yesterday.
But I've never and maybe this is when I was a little kid, I was walking on the beach and I was picking up what seashells. And I picked up charcoal that had been left over because I thought it was a seashell. And so I don't have, in the palms of my hands, I have very little feeling, and at the bottom of my feet, because I dropped them and then I stood on them, and I was like 5 years old. I don't have a lot of recollection of this, but I don't like people touching my feet.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't go to a podiatrist. Okay, I can't go get a mani and a pedi because I don't want somebody just grinding on my feet because I just
See, I don't
weird.
mind that, like with a massage, if they like work on like your feet, like I don't mind that, but I don't find feet like attractive.
Yeah, I don't. And I don't.
What do you like about her feet?
Right. Feet are used for one purpose or maybe two purposes only. So I never get the foot fetish. But he had a foot fetish, and I think his wife was in it as well.
Yeah.
And whatever they do at home, that's fine.
Right.
Okay. Throw it up on OnlyFans.com, make some money off of it.
each
We're
their
all, we're all in to go get our bag. But yeah, so at the old Buck Belcher Field when I was doing the Nebraska games, and this is a girl that I was dating at the time.
Yeah.
She tipped me off. There was a creepy dude, older man, gray hair, glasses. It would be 95 degrees out, and he would be wearing like a hoodie and jeans. Not that
Bill
that was
Snyder?
a tip off. But, a lot of the co-eds would go, and if you remember old Buck Belcher with
Oh,
the
I do.
bleachers,
Yeah.
they would sit in a row, and then they would put their feet over the next row.
Yeah.
And this dude would come and he would sit, and he was probably in his 60s. He would come and he would sit next to the co-eds and their feet over the side. And they either would take their flip-flops off or
Yeah.
whatever.
Get the flip flop.
Get
And
a tan.
he would stare at their feet.
Oh.
And this girl that I was dating at the time tipped me off to it. She said, "Oh yeah, everybody knows about this guy." And so I think I told Chris Anderson, who was, sports information director at the time, and she goes, "I'll get on it." And so the guy got like kicked off the campus.
Should have.
But and then when somebody was onto him, he would move to another section to like be around people that he could see their feet.
That's just, I don't. Yeah.
He wouldn't even be
Should
paying
also-
attention to the
I mean,
game.
that just sounds like a creepy dude, no matter what his fetish is. But yeah.
Nebraska baseball didn't get better until he was out of Buck Belcher. Coincidence?
I think it might have been.
I think not.
I think there's something there.
Mm.
I think there could have been something. Wow. That's icky.
So
That's
maybe
icky.
that for
Stinky, too.
for Hard Knocks, they should drop in some like Rex Ryan fabulous things.
Now let's go get a blanking snack.
He should be in the premiere episode.
I don't know how much you guys ever watch him anymore, because I know some of the ESPN, the post NFL analysis is hit or miss, and I would put Rex in the miss. To me, Rex now is the guy that is still jockeying for a position, for a coaching position. So and you saw a little bit of this of Gruden doing it on Monday Night Football too, where you could sort of foreshadow, okay, a job is about to be open. So I'm going to try to, with this platform, give you my verbal resume on what I would do while cutting the current guy down. Rex Ryan is so guilty of that. It's just unwatchable. It's unlistenable. If he's on, I turn it off. I cannot take it.
I think him back on the sidelines, that ship has probably sailed.
Yeah, I would think so.
Ed writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. He goes, "Love me some Antonio Cromartie. What other former NFL player has enough kids to field a football team?" Now, to be fair, so he has.
Now, Philip Rivers is close.
Antonio Cromartie has 14 kids, and there's 10 mothers.
Yep.
So it's like his
Good
favorite,
ratio.
His favorite NBA player was Sean Kemp.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But the bigger story about Antonio Cromartie, somebody screwed him. Okay, let me back up.
14 times.
Well, yes, that's true.
Somebody gave him
Somebody's-
some wrong information because he had 4 kids after a vasectomy.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, can you get your money back if
I would
it's
hope
failed
so.
after a vasectomy?
Now, what's the fine print? Does the fine print say that there is still the possibility? Because I'll be totally transparent with you guys. This is a road that I might be traveling here very, very soon.
Lock it up.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I
We
want
do
to
a
know.
remote that day at the
Yeah, I could.
clinic, and
I want to know if the fine print is It is not 100% effective.
Okay. Well, just remember, if you are planning your vasectomy, the best time
March
to
Madness.
plan it is right before the Thursday and Friday, the opening week of March Madness.
There you go, Nick.
You sit with a bag of peas on your Johnnies and you watch a lot of basketball.
All right, so I'll pencil you in for out those days.
Brandon Vogel coming next. 2 kids, 1 mom, no vasectomy.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. It is July, which means the countdown is on for the 6th annual 4-person Golf Flash Scramble. Go to their website today, miraclehillgolf.com/store, and get signed up. You do not want to miss it. Coming up Friday, August the 4th, it'll be a 1-beer Friday, 12 o'clock shotgun start, only $320 per team. Again, sign up today at that website, miraclehillgolf.com.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
Brian recently had us tow his all-wheel drive Mercedes from another shop. He was told it needed a new transmission for over $4,000. As it turned out, the reason he had no Ford was because his front CV axle was bad. We replaced the axle for a few $100 and he was back on the road.
Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
It's all too obvious. We're being distracted by meaningless news headlines. When you dig to find the truth, you discover that the American way of life is being threatened by the institutions we used to trust. It's easy to see the future holds more food shortages, systematic controls, and government overreach. But instead of throwing up their hands, folks are preparing. They're taking steps to be self-reliant and investing in emergency food storage. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, makes it easy to get started and join the ranks with this limited-time offer. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and get their top-selling 4-week emergency food kit. Enjoy tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get new lower pricing this week on these 4-week emergency food kits. Secure at least 1 food kit for each member of your family. They ship free, too. Those who know what's coming are preparing. Smart folks. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. mypatriotsupply.com.
PACE, Police Athletics for Community Engagement Organization, is dedicated to preventing at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children from becoming involved in street gangs, crime, drug use, and victimization. PACE provides an opportunity to develop discipline, self-esteem, and positive moral values through wholesome competition and free participation in soccer, baseball, CrossFit, and flag football. To help PACE and local families make sure kids have access to safe and fun spring and summer activities, please go to paceomaha.org to support the PACE mission. Thank you.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, we will save this for tomorrow. A lot of people chiming in on vasectomies. It can happen after.
Nice.
Slip one through the 5-hole.
Yep.
Somebody who probably doesn't have to worry about that, but has a growing family. Brandon Vogel from Hale Varsity joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
You didn't even budge on that intro at
yeah.
all. Good for you, man. You're a pro.
He knows my shenanigans. Hey, I want to cut right to this. And I think you're not a hyperbole guy, but we just had Phil Steele on at the top of the hour, and the other preview magazines are out there. Everybody's got a list, and it's quite an intriguing first year head coaches in college football at their respective schools. Like there's Luke Fickell, Matt Rule, Deion Sanders, there's Hugh Freeze. I mean, it's quite an array of coaches. And I saw a list yesterday of the most to prove in your first year at a school. Not the expectations, but the most to prove. Matt Rule was in the top 3, and I said, not so fast, Brandon. I said, what about Deion, Hugh Freeze, Luke Fickell? Now, Matt Rule would probably be 4th. But in your opinion, who has more to prove at Nebraska this year? Matt Rule or the staff that he has assembled?
Probably the staff. I mean, I think the narrative on Rule is pretty well established and it's pretty well grounded. Of like, look what he did at Temple. It was a very clear trajectory, and then in one less year, the same thing happened at Baylor, and he is at a place now where it's by far the most advantageous starting spot he's had, just with Nebraska's history, certainly, but also like the weird way Nebraska has not met expectations in the past 6, 7, 8 years. So I think everybody kind of looks at Matt Rule and be like, yeah, if he just continues to be Matt Rule, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in reading some of these national publications, you know, I can't remember where it was, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything, but you know, there was one where it said, you know, the coordinator hires were maybe not all that inspiring. They certainly weren't the most eye-catching ones. It's not Phil Longo to Wisconsin, for example, which, you know, is interesting for some other reasons. So I think there's that piece of it. You know, there wasn't the, like, I got to go out. I'm out of Nebraska now. Theoretically, I can at least approach any potential assistant I want. And what he ended up with is a lot of the same team he's worked with at these various spots. So that's always going to, I think, it's interesting from a, I guess, strategy and belief in yourself standpoint, but it's also always going to be like, well, you know, for the general fan, these aren't a lot of names that people probably heard of prior to joining the staff.
Well, and I would agree with you, and I'll take it even a step further. If that's the case, who would have more to prove as a coordinator between Satterfield and White, considering what they have on each side of the football?
Good question. Good question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I still think when you look at kind of the experience coming back, and certainly with the change of quarterback, like I do think defense starts out a little ahead in my mind at Nebraska. And I also think Tony White's, you know, recent resume is a little bit easier to look at and be impressed by. You know, you still got to read between the lines a little bit with Syracuse, but not to the degree I think I have found myself needing to do with South Carolina and Satterfield. So, you know, they're making a big bet, I think, on Jeff Sims, assuming he is the starter and wins that job. You feel pretty good about running back. O-line is super interesting. And then receiver, you know, this is Nebraska's replacing its top receiver, or I think the 4th or 5th straight season, with just how it's worked out with graduations, transfers, looking to transfers to be that person. So I'll go defense, I think, in terms of it's a little better situated. So in terms of coordinators, who has the most to prove, it's probably on the offense.
So how does Nebraska not get Marcus Satterfield first part of last year in Columbia, but they get the Marcus Satterfield pared down playbook that put up big numbers in their last couple of games against Tennessee and also Clemson?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and you know, worth going back and kind of looking at South Carolina, which I hadn't done yet. That's a good idea, thank you. You know, trying to read through a little bit of like what change happened there. I think you hope, if you're a Nebraska fan, that Rule and Satterfield's history together maybe makes that a little bit easier than it would have been. You know, I think Shane Beamer has done a really good job so far at South Carolina, better than I would have expected at the time that he took that job. But it's still, you know, Satterfield's working for a new head coach, and we know kind of where Beamer's expertise lies. You know, it's always interesting, I guess, with that quote unquote off coordinator. You know, if you've got a Bo Pelini, like Tim Beck becomes that. I think Tim Beck then in that scenario had a lot of control. And that's not the case. That's not the relationship I necessarily see here with Satterfield and Rule. Like, I think it'll be pretty collaborative. Satterfield said himself, and Matt Rule has continued to espouse a pretty like meat and potatoes approach to what they want to do offensively. So maybe that can help a little bit. And I do think just their history and the relationship might put them a little further ahead of where South Carolina was at to start last season.
Brandon, I've brought this guy's name up, and it's been more about the recruiting element when it comes to the wide receiving room and Garrett McGuire. And his appearance last night on the network talking about that wide receiving room. And I understand he's probably, I mean, if there are some guys that are maybe, resisting some of his coaching right now, he's not going to come out and say that. But there was something that I found interesting. He had great things to say about everyone, as you would expect, but he did talk about one guy in particular, Marcus Washington, of not only being, the guy that he thinks is going to be very, very talented, but extremely coachable, like basically clinging to Garrett McGuire. And I don't know why I found that to be a little bit surprising, but I also took that as if you're trying to look at little things amongst his staff and how these guys are coming together. I took that as a very good sign for a guy that I don't want to say comes across as not being coachable, but knowing that you're maybe not that familiar with this young wide receivers coach, but it seems like he's pretty well embraced. I mean, do you get that feeling from all aspects so far with Garrett McGuire?
I do get that from Garrett McGuire, and I think you hit on an excellent point. When you stop and really, at least when I stop and really look at it, I don't feel like we know a ton about Marcus Washington. I've long felt, in like January, December, when you're kind of looking back at the season, like, okay, well, this 2022 season was pretty good in ways that I felt like were somewhat easy to miss. So, it wasn't a season where you're like, well, he was your second league receiver, and you're sure that that's your top guy now. That's not where I was at. But hearing some of these things from Coach McGuire, and hearing some reports about him, maybe he is. Maybe he's ready to be that guy. And, maybe it helps a little bit that Garrett is, a Texan, and they both spent time in Texas. But finding that relationship with a coach of, because you look at somebody like Marcus Washington, good enough to be signed to Texas, good enough when that wasn't working for him for whatever reasons this may have been, he gets the next stop from Nebraska. And if he was a guy who's like, what I need is somebody who can coach me and kind of get me to where I need to go. And I'm not saying any of his previous guys couldn't, but if you find that connection, it could be pretty valuable, and that would be a big development for Nebraska.
Brandon Vogel from Hail Varsity joining us. Hail Varsity, the magazine. The yearbook is out. It is award-winning as always. Jessica Cody talked to Xavier Betts, and they released it yesterday. And I know the Z-Man from high school. I know the 1.0 at Nebraska, and now the 2.0 is completely different. The way he speaks, like looking ahead compared to the 1.0. He has grown up. He took 21 credits in the spring. So first of all, that's got to be on your storyline list. What if he is the man? I know we've talked about him before, but I'm getting more and more curious about a young man who is being treated differently and what it does to unlock what we know has always been there. So what if Xavier Betts is the man in that wide receiver room? What does that look like, Brandon?
I mean, that would be pretty big as well. Jacob Padilla wrote his regular Wednesday column about Betts and Garcia Castaneda, just basically saying, this is really interesting in terms of kind of I don't want to use the word reclamation, but, a kind of a redo, a reset for these guys. And he described it in there. Like, you look at Xavier and you can see the size, you can see the speed, you can see the jumping ability, and be like, wow, like you want to talk about big play threat that Trey Palmer was. It doesn't take much to get to a place where, Xavier Betts has the athleticism certainly to do that. But the most important thing I think he said in that interview, for me at least, was him talking about Matt Rule's approach being like, I think I can help you get to where you want to be as a person. And like the football stuff is, obviously you're super talented and we're super interested in your talent, but it started at that personal level. And I think that could be yet another good sign.
you're putting the wide receivers out there, and you always got to have a guy on the field that's going to run a go route. Who is that guy?
I mean, I think if Betts is ready to go, it's that guy. And Washington, I think, has some big playability. But when you look at that piece of it, and then I would throw the tight ends, even though I know you didn't ask about that, but you hope that can emerge too. But that's just the first one that comes to mind.
Realistic expectation for Malachi in the wide receiver room.
He'll play. And I think it might be, you'll see a fairly typical true freshman, I guess, ramp up where, let's get him some work. And then from there, it's kind of up to him and the coaches for how much they can get him ready for. But I think he has a chance to be, I guess I'll be surprised if he plays and ends up as like a 8-catch, 98-yard guy at the end of the year.
Hey, one final question, Big Ten related, because 2 weeks from today, the media days begin, and Wisconsin will be a topic. And we just kind of alluded to Fickell at the beginning of this interview. And nationally, there's a lot to like about Wisconsin. I mean, the amount of players they bring back. I mean, they bring back the best player in the West in Braylon Allen. It is Luke Fickell. He's got a good staff. I like them in the West. But if you talk to our listeners, our conversation on this radio station, when you are doing all your radio hits, do you think Luke Fickell locally gets the Scott Frost treatment? Because we looked at Scott Frost came into a place and tried to change something that is not the bread and butter. And Fickell, not necessarily just turning everything upside down, kind of is doing things a little bit differently at Wisconsin. So around here, we go, ooh, that's not going to work because we've seen it.
I think that might be a little bit locally unique. But I also feel like because it's happening in a program that isn't Nebraska, he maybe doesn't get some of the Scott Frost upside that we witnessed, where it's like, oh, look what he did with UCF. Well, look what Luke Fickell did with Cincinnati. I mean, people are aware of it, but it was such a bold hire with Phil Longo that it catches your attention and it leads you to ask. And I think locally a piece of it too is also Nebraska fans have lived this. They lived it with the end of Solich, and that's where Wisconsin is at now, just based on Alvarez is out. This is a break from the people he had entrusted to run the football program. So those people who have lived through kind of how poorly it can go are always going to have a unique perspective.
And it's probably a better comparison. I just use Frost because of recency. It's probably the Solich to Callahan than Riley to Frost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it probably is. And especially when you encompass, Barry Alvarez retired, it's a little bit different, but just not having him there to hire the next football coach makes it a break. And they had to change it, at AD. So that's all part of it.
Hey, appreciate the conversation as always, my friend.
Thank you. Just for the record, I didn't actually hear the start of your intro, so I'm sorry if I missed it.
Well, we were praising you and your addition to your family.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and that whole thing about the vasectomy,
don't even worry.
Just keep it moving.
Got it. Yeah.
Thanks, B.
Be on the radio replay.
Thanks, guys.
Wisconsin, by the way, this might shock you.
It's a good. That's a good question though. About
a vasectomy?
Yeah, that's right. I thought you.
Yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, no, about Fickell, Wisconsin, and sort of that feeling of when you go in and try to dramatically change an offensive system. Not try, but that's just what you do. That's what you're part of. Like all signs point to this would be really good, but there's a fan base that has seen that change.
I'll leave you with this Wisconsin stat. They have the most wins without making the playoff in the playoff era.
It's not surprising.
83 since 2014, but have never made the playoff.
Not surprising.
That's the most in college football. And probably will continue. I mean, they'll win 8 games this year, so they'll have 91 because they're not going to make the playoff.
It's a consistent winner.
All right, good show, everybody.
Yeah,
hope you enjoyed 4 hours. Well, when we began, we were in a severe thunderstorm warning. Now the sun's out, guns out. I'll be shirtless on the first tee here about noon.
Okay.
Just don't call the authorities. I like to play golf.
But you do not have
infiltrating the course.
You do not have a foot fetish either.
I am not Bart Kreischer. Bert Kreischer. All right. Crossover is coming up. I can't believe, man, I just messed up his name. I like him. Damn. All right. Crossovers coming up next for Nick, for Jimmy, also for Brian Windhorse, Phil Steele, and Brandon Vogel. All up on the radio replay page. Have a great